Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the Premier Networks on Saturday, February 23rd, 2019. This is episode 1568. Quick reminder, it's not too late to take the Twit survey. We would love to know more about our audience. If you haven't taken it yet, twit.to/survey19. No salesman will call. And now, on with the show. The Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by LastPass, the #1 most preferred password manager. Secure every password-protected entry point to your business and reduce the threat of breach at LastPass.com/twit. And by DigitalOcean, the simplest cloud platform for developers and teams. Deploy, manage, and scale cloud applications faster and more efficiently with DigitalOcean. Sign up today and receive a free $100 credit at do.co/twit. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography. We've got your smartphones. We got your smartwatches. We got all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number, 888-827-5536. That's toll-free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Outside that area, you can still reach me. It's still free. You just have to use Skype or something like that to call the toll-free number. Skype out will do it. Website. Should make a note of this so you don't have to make a note of anything else during the show. TechGuyLabs.com. TechGuyLabs.com. Hey, I like my new blinking lights, John and Burke. Thank you. We, for a long time, so I don't know, most of you probably think this is merely a radio show. Merely a radio show. There's no visuals involved. But for reasons not immediately clear, we do, in fact, do a streaming video version of the show. And if you're going to do video, you have to have, a set. You can't just be sitting in a boring old studio. So behind me, and if you ever see the video version of the podcast or go to twit.tv/live, you can see this. Behind me, there's a bunch of bric-a-brac. And man, it is bric-a-brac. It's just kind of random stuff collected over the years, including kind of, you can't really see it because I block it, but there's a complete computer museum behind me, including the first iPhone, the first iPod, the first netbook. I don't have the first computer back there, sorry. I couldn't. It would be too big to fit in there. We've had Commodores and Amigas but I don't think they'd fit back there. So there's mostly consumer electronics from the late 20th century. It is a bit of a museum, but also there is an early computer. I don't know if you can call it a personal computer. There's a Swiss guy, Oscar Vermeulen, who is a fan of the. I guess, can you use the word antique when it comes to computers? I don't know. He's a fan of the old days. And, of course, for many people of a certain age, the way they got started in computing was on mini computers and mainframe computers with terminals. Before there were personal computers, personal computer didn't really become commonplace until the late 1970s. Sitting behind me is a computer that many of the people I know got their start on. It's a replica of something called a PDP-11. The PDP-11 was a very, very famous computer for its time. It came from Digital Equipment, DEC. This was back when Route 128 in Massachusetts was Silicon Valley. There was no Silicon Valley yet. It was straight from 1970. And so Oscar, being a fan of the old days, has made a very faithful replica. The only difference is it's kind of small. It's a little smaller than the full-size PDP, but it's got working switches on it. And instead of a PDP computer inside it, it actually kind of, in kind of a somewhat of an irony, has a much more powerful computer inside it than the original PDP-11. It has a Raspberry Pi, a $35 Raspberry Pi computer running the blinking lights. So Oscar very kindly sent me this. He sells these kits for $250. You add the Raspberry Pi, you put it together. It doesn't involve a lot of soldering or anything. It's a fairly easy kit. This is not his first PDP kit. And I can't promise that there are any left because he makes these by hand. It's not really a big business. But if you we'll put a link in the show notes at techguylabs.com where you can Google obsolescence guaranteed. And the name of this device is the Pi DP11. And you can get on his mailing list, and when he's got more to sell, he'll have those on the mailing list. But I thought it'd be fun. It'd be appropriate, really, to enshrine this in the set. Plus, it's blinking, which is especially late at night. It looks kind of cool. So I thank my studio staff, Burke and John. I tasked them when I left last week. I said, "It's fun to be the king. Find a place for this on my set," and they did a nice job. It's right under the other piece of antiquity, which is a 1960s on-the-air light from an old hippie station in San Francisco. It's not just on the air. It's right on the air, man. So my on-air light and my PDP-11. Anyway, so we do have old computers here. I wouldn't know how to fix yours if you have one. That I'll have to leave to you. I can talk about the Raspberry Pi, though. That's a pretty remarkable computer designed to teach people, students particularly, computing. And in a way, the Raspberry Pi has its heritage in the good old days of computing because the folks who created the Raspberry Pi were trying to duplicate a very inexpensive computer, the BBC computer that they had when they were kids in the 70s. It was their first personal computer. So it all comes full circle here. That's yesterday's news. Today's news, I'm afraid, is not so much fun. YouTube in a lot of trouble. A lot of the big advertisers abandoning YouTube because of, it's not child pornography exactly, but people innocently, kids and their parents, put pictures and videos of their kids doing, gymnastics or ballet or swimming up on YouTube completely innocently, I think. And then the creeps find it and put disgusting comments in there, basically pedophile comments. And YouTube just let it sit for many, many years. It finally was discovered in an investigation by Wired BBC, Wired UK, and shocked. These brands were shocked, I tell you, to find out that their ads for L'Oreal, big name brands were showing up on these channels because that's the way YouTube works, right? You don't buy particular videos or ads. You're buying, the whole YouTube. Nestle, even Disney had ads. They have now all pulled their ads from YouTube entirely. Pulled their ads saying, "Hey, we're ugh." And I understand, rightly so. Rightly so. You don't want an ad for Disney to show up on one of these videos. YouTube says, "All right, we're gonna," and they took 400. They've taken 400 channels down and deleted. And this is more important because I think the channels are mostly innocent, I guess, but they've deleted tens of millions of comments. We've always known the YouTube comment system was broken and that comments on YouTube were worthless, horrible, brought out the worst in people, worse than Twitter, which is saying a lot. Brought out the worst in people. In fact, to my knowledge, when we post videos on YouTube, and my podcast network posts all of its videos on YouTube, we turn off comments because we just don't want, no one has the time to moderate all the filth. Well, maybe I don't know. Can you ask YouTube to fix this? This is kind of a question that's going on right now in the tech community in general, is can we hold social media, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, can we hold them responsible for the content on the social media? Or are they just, a conduit for humans? And which shouldn't be surprising, some percentage of all humans are just foul. And you're going to get foul stuff. And then what's the responsibility of these social media networks? Is it to find and delete the foul stuff? Is it to block people who post it? When you have 2 billion active users, as YouTube or Facebook does, and YouTube has, I don't know how many, but probably up there, probably more than 1 billion. I know that many, many hours of video are posted every minute on YouTube. How do you moderate that? How do you control it? This is a real challenge because there's value to social media. I know, many of you, I'm off it because I don't find it valuable, but people tell me all the time, oh, no, I can't leave Facebook. That's where my family and friends are. I get so much value out of Twitter. YouTube is a great place for people to publish content, isn't it? For free. I mean, used to be, if you made videos, used to be expensive to make them. Now it's easy with your phone. Used to be expensive to post them and to distribute them through the rest of the world. It's free with YouTube, so there's definite value to it. But how do we monitor? I don't know what the answer is. Maybe you do. 8888 Ask Leo. We're going to take calls, answer your tech questions, talk about the issues of the day and the issues of your moment. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Are you ready to don your geek hats, your propeller beanies, and take a trip with me through Technology Lane? All right, let's do it right after this. Our show today brought to you by a company that I trust with my, well, not quite my life, but practically my life. All the logins to every account. I even trust them so much I put my passport, my driver's license, and my social security numbers in my LastPass vault. If you've got passwords, you need somewhere to store them. Because what you don't want to do is reuse passwords over and over or make them easy to remember. Easy to remember equals easy to guess. For the bad guys, you need LastPass, the #1 most preferred password manager. 16.5 million people trust LastPass. I started using them when they first came out 10 years ago. And now I use it for my business, too. Because if you think about it, you may have great password practices because you listen to me. You've got it all wired. But if you have a business, your employees are doing things you wish they didn't, like put passwords on Post-it notes on the screen. Or worse, most employees do this, share passwords not just with people in the company, but with others. LastPass is awesome. You don't even have to give employees a password. They press a button in their LastPass, it logs them in. They don't know the password. So that means you can change it. If an employee leaves, you can restrict access. In fact, you get over 100 policies, plus actionable security reports. You can create shared folders. So the business office here has one folder. Our engineers have another folder. We call it the ops folder. They get access to the stuff they need, but not access to everything. The engineers don't know what's going on in business. Business doesn't know what's going on in engineering. And nobody has access to my passport. That's how we want it. LastPass is the way for an enterprise to protect itself, to keep track of passwords, to generate new, long, strong passwords. And one of the things we enforce, one of those policies we enforce is two-factor authentication. LastPass supports every form, YubiKey, Duo Security, Google Authenticator. In fact, they even have their own authenticator. You don't have to use it, but they have it, which I like because unlike the 6-digit authenticators, it pops up a notice on your screen that says, you're trying to log into the bank, approve, deny. Just a button. It's very, very easy to use. I can go on, but really, if you think about it, LastPass may be the most important security thing you can do in your business. That's why 43,000 businesses use LastPass, the best password solution for your team. There are LastPasses for every size team, 50 or fewer LastPass teams, more than 50 employees, LastPass Enterprise, that's what we use. There's LastPass Premium for personal use. At home, I use LastPass Families. It's a very easy way for me to share passwords with my wife, so she has access to all the accounts she needs access to. And there's a really nice feature in LastPass called Emergency Access. I know this is kind of morbid, but if something happens to you, can your spouse or your executor or your attorney get access to your bank accounts and all that stuff? LastPass makes that easy. You set up an emergency access contact or contacts, my wife and my daughter. And then if something should happen to me, if I'm incapacitated or pass away, they actually can ask LastPass for access. LastPass, it's got a very clever system, will then email me and say, are you there? Knock, knock. Is it okay if we give Lisa access? And if I don't respond, and I can set the period of time, 1 day, 1 week, 1 month. If I don't respond in the period of time I set, then they get access. So that's very clever, and I think really important. That's just one of, I could give you 1,000 reasons you need LastPass. Go to LastPass.com/twit. Don't delay. For personal use, for business use, there's nothing better in the world. You must have it. LastPass.com/twit. Hi, Kim.
Good morning.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Of course, Big Pee Wee spinning the discs.
Yes, he is.
Our musical director, the man with the baton. And he always tries to find something appropriate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He does a great job.
Well, welcome back.
Yes.
I trust you had a lovely week.
I did have a lovely week.
And I trust we have many lovely callers this week.
We do. I'm picking this one just because I want to say the name. Kevin in Spotsylvania, Virginia.
Oh, yeah.
Spotsylvania.
Spotsylvania. There's a story there.
There's a story. Well, how it got the name?
I think so.
It's
we'll
like
ask.
Pennsylvania, but not.
Yeah, Spotsylvania.
Spotsylvania.
Sylvania means woods. I think I feel like something famous happened in Spotsylvania. Did it, Kevin?
Well, it's kind of a weird name. How are you doing, Leo?
I'm great, Kevin. How are you? Thank you, Kim. What can I do for you
I'm
today?
doing good, man.
Good.
No, Spotsylvania is just a little town. We're about 55 miles south of D.C. and about 55 miles north of Richmond.
I feel like it was a Civil War battleground there. Or?
Yes.
That's where I know the name.
Yep. We got several battles that went on here.
Yep.
And so, yeah, a lot of history here.
Yeah, you're right near Fredericksburg.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right outside of Fredericksburg.
Yeah, I know where it is. Beautiful country, though, right? Are the Smoky Mountains going through there?
Yeah.
Yeah, sort of. Out in the distance.
Yeah.
Well, all right, enough of the tour. Let's get to your call and your concerns. I'm sorry, Kevin. I didn't mean to make you the Chamber of Commerce. What can I do for you?
No,
today?
you're good. Actually, I do want to say one thing to you before I ask you my question. I want to thank you so much for, even though it was only around for 3 years, when you brought back the Screensavers. It
breaks my heart, yeah. So the Screensavers was the old TV show I did. That's how I made my bones back in 1998 to 2006 on the old, or 2004 on the old Tech TV. And then they wrested it away from me and renamed it The Attack of the Show and slowly throttled it to death. And I just felt so bad about it that on our podcast network, we resurrected it a few years ago with high hopes. But what I realized, we just never gained a big audience. And I think what I realized is that people don't want podcasts they have to watch. They just want to be able to listen in the car, right?
Right.
So it was a good audience. The people who watched it loved it. And it wasn't as good as the old show. We couldn't do something quite as good as that. That had dozens of producers and a fairly big budget. But I think we did it justice. I felt pretty good about it. I sure loved doing it every Saturday afternoon. But yeah, people don't want to watch a podcast. They want to listen.
Well, like I said, I've been a big fan of yours and Patrick Norton ever since
my old
the old Tech TV days.
Yeah, and Patrick still does his show, and Tech Thing. And, so we're all keeping pretty busy. We all get to do, thanks to podcasting, Tech TV lives on, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, here's my question. It's it's a very interesting one. I have an iPhone 10 that I've had probably since maybe July, maybe August of last year. And I had the latest iOS update. And for some reason, there used to be an option when you were able to delete your email, where instead of having to delete one at a time, it'll let you delete all of them. Now it won't do that.
Thank you, Apple. Apple does these changes periodically to user interface, and so how were you able to just? I'm looking at it right now. How were you able? You could select multiple ones. Is that it?
Yeah, like you would.
Yeah, you can't do that anymore, can you?
Inbox, you select each one.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of weird.
Okay, you can do that again. They've just moved the ability to do it. So,
okay.
So now, if you're looking at a mailbox and you see a bunch of mail in the mailbox, if you tap the edit button up at the top, you'll see the little dots to the left of each email. You can select them, and then you have the choice of marking, moving, or trashing them.
Oh, okay.
So this is, people, it's so funny because Apple became very famous for ease of use, right? I mean, that was the whole thing of Apple. It was the computer for the rest of us. You didn't have to be a geek to use it. You could figure it out. You could just turn it on. They were the first company not to publish manuals with their equipment, which caused a lot of pain for a lot of people, but it gave me a career. So that was their ethos from day one. But then we get to the iPhone. And the problem with the iPhone, especially as Apple slowly evolved it, is it didn't have any controls or buttons or even a standard user interface. Right? There's no and you have to on the iPhone learn each application separately. And this is, I think Apple made a big mistake. When the Mac first came out, they had hundreds of pages devoted to the user interface and to the guidelines. That was a big deal, and you had to follow the guidelines. And Apple said, and rightly so, we don't want people to have 12 different ways of doing things.
Right.
We want there's a technical term called monotony. Kind of sounds bad, but actually it's a good thing. One way to do everything, because the brain learns a path and then just does it. And the Mac really was designed around that. That was the ease of use of the Macintosh. But when they got to the iPhone, they didn't set up clear guidelines. So in some cases, there's kind of standards, like the pull down to refresh standard. That was created by one Apple developer, Brent Simmons, and he wrote it and put it in one of his apps, and everybody liked it so much that they adopted it, but it didn't come from Apple, and it isn't a standard. Some apps do it, some don't. And that's my problem with the iPhone. Even Apple itself doesn't have a standard for its individual apps. So every app's a bit of an adventure. I mean, I've gotten to apps where I just don't know how to do any. I sit in there looking at a page, there's no buttons, and all I can do is back out of it, go back home. And with the loss of the home button, that's not even obvious. So anyway, there's the answer to your question. You still can do it, but they've just moved it, that's all. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Yeah, thank you for the kind words about the screensavers. I appreciate it. I hated killing that show. I
loved it. I was a huge fan of it, even back then.
Yeah, and I think people who watched it, we only got about 30,000 viewers a week, and I think the people who watched it, a lot of it was nostalgia. We liked it because it was a variety show, so it gave us a chance to do a lot of different kinds of stuff, that we wouldn't know where to put it in the other podcasts. So that's kind of, we're sad to lose that ability. But if a show only has 30,000 listeners, I can't get anybody to buy ads on it. And if I can't get anybody to buy ads on it, then I have to pay for it out of my pocket. And I don't have enough money to do that, unfortunately.
Right.
I wish I did, but I can't subsidize shows. I mean, that's just, a drain on the income. And we gave it 3 years because we really hoped to turn it around. And I don't know why it didn't get more than 30,000 viewers, but it's my belief that it was because you really had to watch it. You couldn't really listen to it. You had to watch it. And it's not a show that you have to watch is never going to gain the same amount of audience as one that you just listen to. So,
well, thank you very much for taking my call, Leo.
Hey,
I really appreciate it.
So great to talk to you, Kevin. Thank you. And I hope, have you tried it to see if it works, what I suggested?
I'm going to try it. I'm going to try it and see.
Yeah, I think it does.
It'll do the trick.
It's just not where it used to be, I guess.
Right.
And this is an example. In the Apple user interface, you would expect to select stuff by pressing it and holding it, right? Pressing it and holding it, pressing it and holding it. But that's not a standard. And so some do it and some don't. Apple used to, they don't anymore.
Wow.
Now they want you to hit the edit button, then select, then hit trash. And so that's, that is a little bit of a standard for Apple stuff. I suspect internally they're trying to establish standards for all their apps.
Yeah, it's always a trial by error.
It is. And that's where Steve was really smart with the Macintosh. Steve and his team, Steve Jobs and his team were really smart because before the Mac came out, they had these very strict Macintosh user guidelines for all developers. They said, you have to do it this way. This is what a menu looks like. That's why on all Mac apps, the file menu has the same stuff, right? The print command is always in the same place. The cut, paste, and copy commands are always Command X, C, and V. That's always the same. And that's thanks to Steve Jobs and the Macintosh team. But it's not the case in the iPhone. Every app is an adventure.
Yep.
And I hate it that I have to learn how to use each app. Hey, it's nice to talk to you. Thank you so much for watching the shows and listening. I really appreciate it.
All right, Leo. Thank you very much.
Take care, Kevin.
Have a great day.
See ya. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.
Scott Wilkinson
Hey, Leo.
is in the house. Hi, Scott.
How you doing?
I am great. Hey, you always talk about action movies, 3D movies, IMAX movies, Atmos sound.
Yeah.
Best movie I've seen all year is Black and White. But have you seen Roma yet?
I have not seen Roma
Nominated
yet.
for Best Picture, and I think it's going to win. I would say, having seen them all now.
You've seen all the Best Picture nominees?
Except Vice. We're going to go see that tonight.
Oh, great.
Because that's still in the theaters, but everything else we've seen. Lisa and I try to do that every year. We saw Roma last night, and it's slow. It takes a while for you to really appreciate what you're seeing, but by the end of it, you'll go, this is a movie that's a classic that people will... like a Fellini movie or something that people will be talking about for years. I think it's a shoo-in, but we'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah. Cuarón is an amazing director who has, it's really, by the way, it's a very beautiful black and white, really rich tones. They shot it with an Alexa 65, one of those really nice 65 millimeter digitals.
But digital. They shot it on
digital, but it looks very filmic. It's 24 frames.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But interesting, yeah.
Huge amount of special effects in it, but you'd never
Really?
know. Yeah, you'd never know because there's no chase scenes. There's no.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Wow.
All right, here we go. It's time for our home theater geek, Scott Wilkinson. He joins us every week to talk about big screen TVs, surround sound, the movies, and all that jazz. Are you excited? Tomorrow's the Oscars. Oh, are you excited about that?
Well, I'm not as excited as normal. I mean, there have been so many controversial things. The Oscars, the Academy has sort of flailed around and said, well, we're gonna not do some of these awards on camera, on the air, do them in the commercials. No, not going to do that.
I hate that. That's a terrible idea.
How about Kevin Hart as the host? No. He did homophobic tweets 10 years ago. Can't have him. So, okay, we're going to go hostless.
Hostless. The hostless Oscars. That's weird.
They did it once before. They did it in 61 or 69.
Isn't it one of the things, though, about the Oscars? Now, I know Oscars are polarizing. Some people hate them. Some people love them. I watch them every year. Usually I have a party. It's a big deal.
I do, too.
Yeah. And I think it seems to me that my memories of the Oscars often are around the great hosts and the opening number.
Yeah,
like Billy Crystal's amazing opening numbers. And
why couldn't Billy Crystal have been called back in? Or I actually liked Ellen DeGeneres' hosting.
Yeah,
I thought she was good.
She was awesome. Remember the selfie?
Yeah, which became the most
retweeted selfie of all
time.
Yeah.
That was amazing. So, I'm going to watch it, of course, because
you're a movie fan. If you're a movie fan, you kind of have to watch it, acknowledging that awards in an artistic sphere are kind of dopey because it's not a horse race; it's art. But
exactly. And do you remember? I don't know when it was. A few months ago, they said, "Oh, we're going to do a new category called Best Popular Film."
Yeah, they dumped that too. Thank you.
What?
Well, you know why? Because no Star Wars film ever won.
Right.
This is a chance, I think, for the first time for a Marvel or a comic book movie or an action film to win. Black Panther's nominated.
That's right.
And a great film indeed.
It is. It is. There's no question about it. But that was that whole best popular movie category was kind of a ghettoization that I thought was just a horrible idea.
We know what's best. We'll let the people have one award. But we know what's best. But that's actually why I like the Oscars, because every Oscar, except for the top ones, are voted by the people in. So makeup is voted by only the people in makeup. Sound only by the people in sound. And so I kind of like that. I like that idea that this is the people whose craft it is voting on their peers and picking somebody that really deserved
They know
attention.
exactly what to look for.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. So I totally agree with you on that. The best picture is, I guess, everybody in the Academy gets to vote for that. I'm proud to say my grandfather was a member of the Academy.
Oh, that's cool.
When.
Oh, that's really cool.
That was pretty cool.
So what TV will you be watching on? Will you be using surround sound? Will you have popcorn? What? Tell all.
I'll be watching on my Sony OLED TV, 65-inch.
Yeah.
I'm only about 8 feet away from it, so it's plenty big enough. I don't need a big giant projector screen.
That's how we watched Roma last night on the OLED, really close to it.
Man, that must have been great.
Well, it's interesting. It's not a color film, and it's not an action film. It doesn't have any explosions.
But is it in high dynamic range?
I think so. It's beautifully shot. You know, I actually looked up the camera so I could understand it because it's digital, black and white digital. But as a photography buff, I really loved the rich tonality. You know, black and white can have a lot of rich. It's not just black and white. There's shades. It's shades of gray.
Shades of gray.
And things can be very rich. And it was. I think it was. So he shot it with a digital camera from Arri called the Alexa 65.
Great camera.
And it is a great camera. I was really impressed. 24 frames, so it has a filmic quality. I don't like these 60 frames.
Yeah, a lot of people don't. I do. I'm
It's too realistic. It's like you're
hyper
right
realistic.
there.
Now, one question I have for you regarding this is, technically, or at least historically, black and white movies have been shot with a different, what's called white point. So the white point, we've talked about this before, when you're calibrating a TV, you want the color of white to be a certain color because that's what they were looking at in the mastering room.
Yeah.
And in color, that color movies and video and so on, that color of white is called D65. That's just a technical name for it. With black and white, the color of white is traditionally different. It's warmer. And so
this is a big issue with this because if you aren't careful, if your color temperature on the TV is set wrong, it will look like a sepia tone.
Yes.
Or more in the sepia range. And this is really pure black and white. It is right in the middle. In fact, Slash Film, my friend over at Slash Film, has written an article on how to watch Roma.
Really?
Turn off motion, smoothing, or interpolation.
Well, you want to do
course.
that anyway, probably.
But this would really look bad with that.
Yeah. Oh, man. Can you imagine black and white movie like that with the soap opera effect?
Ick.
Ick.
It also says set your color temperature to normal. So I think the white point on this is true white.
Well, okay. Then they must have done it differently than black and white traditionally is done, because normal. The color temperature of normal in most TVs is generally cooler than what you want even for color.
Yeah. Well, if it looks at all blue or yellow, change it.
Change it, yeah.
Because it shouldn't. It's not intended to look warm or cool. It's intended to look like
neutral.
An Ansel Adams photo, if you want a reference point, where there's great tonal range. And then finally, it is Dolby Vision HDR, so if you can, watch it on a Dolby Vision.
Oh, man. Okay, well, now you've piqued my interest. I'm going to watch it later today.
It really is, you know, of course, you have to have one of the Netflix, because it's Netflix, which is also an interesting thing. I think this is the first time a movie released on Netflix, not in theaters primarily, but in Netflix, has been nominated for a Best Picture award. I think that's very interesting.
In order to be nominated, it had to be in theaters for a little while.
Oh, interesting. Anyway. Yeah. Isn't Netflix now a member of the Academy, though? So this is I believe so, and I think that's a big deal. I think that
is a big deal.
Digital is now, you know, no longer discriminated against, and frankly, since most of us, that's how we see movies. In streaming digital,
that's exactly right.
That's appropriate.
One piece of news I was going to just bring up quickly today is that Samsung announced last week that it's getting out of the Blu-ray player market, at least in the U.S., altogether.
What?
They're no longer going to offer Blu-ray players, which speaks to the point you just made, which is we as a society consume more and more content from streaming than we do from physical media. Now, you've been saying this for a long time.
Yeah, and people yell at me when I say
physical media is on its way out.
Yeah, people hate it when I say that. But except for enthusiasts, it's clearly the case.
It is. It is. I found an article on where was it? Media Play News that says that household penetration of Blu-ray players has dropped to 67%. Down from 73% at the end of 2017.
I wouldn't even have one if I didn't have an Xbox One, to be honest.
Now, I have to say every time that is the way to get the best picture quality, because streaming isn't the best picture quality. It just isn't, because it's too compressed. They have to compress it a lot, data compress it, in order to fit it through the pipe to get to your house. But it's so much more convenient.
Yeah. It really is. And now I think if you have a good TV, enough bandwidth, and you've got the right equipment, an HDR equipment, in other words, it's a pretty good experience.
It's a pretty darn good experience.
There was an earthquake in Roma, and my subwoofer was turned up too loud, and things were. There was an earthquake in my viewing room, my den. Yes. Things were falling off the wall. Scott Wilkinson, he's our home theater geek. I know where he'll be tomorrow night, and I know where I'll be too. Thank you, Scott. We'll talk again next week. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. More of your calls right after this. Yeah, maybe I'll have to get a Blu-ray. I would love a Caesar. No chicken Caesar, no croutons. And you don't have to plate it. You do not have to plate it. She always plates it. She's too nice. No, I'm good.
Caesar. That's great.
I'm on this. I just started this new program. It's a medically supervised ketogenic diet from
you're going
It's a
keto,
Silicon Valley startup, and you have an app and you measure and you step on.
Yeah.
It's really bad. You weigh yourself and it just goes right to the app. You can't do anything about it. You
have one of those connected scales?
Yeah, but you don't have to connect it. When it comes, Verta sends you this scale that's already wired up with your account number. It must have LTE, because I never paired it to the Wi-Fi or anything. And then you have a doctor, a physician, and you have a dietitian, and they're looking at your numbers, man.
Wow.
So I needed that. I needed somebody to keep me honest. So,
actually, my doctor said the same to me. He said, you really need to lose some weight. And I said, well, what do I do? He says, eat half.
Yeah, that'll work if you can do it.
If you can do it, and I've been doing it.
Good.
And I'm down 30 pounds.
Oh, man. Congratulations.
Yeah.
There you go. Pretty soon it'll be half of Scott.
I have to get all my sports coats.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Congratulations. I didn't even know you were doing that.
Yeah, well, I was having a lot of throat clearing and phlegm and stuff, and I said, "What's the problem, Doc?" He says, "Acid reflux."
Oh.
I said, "What?" I said, "What's the treatment?" He said, "You're not going to like it." And I said, "No, what?" He said, "Lose weight."
Reality is never pretty. Never pretty. Yeah, I'm type 2 diabetic thanks to my weight, and I'm I'm on all sorts of medications for high blood pressure and for all that stuff. So I really needed to take this seriously.
Good for you. I'm glad you're taking a step.
Yeah, and it's with my doctor's support too. He said, I'm not. He said, I'd rather see you do more plant-based diet, but this is I'm doing this very plant-based. But he says, okay, I'm just glad you're doing something. So.
Yeah, well, no, that is absolutely true. Plant-based is really
definitely the best.
The best, no question. Keto, I've heard, is very, very effective at weight loss. So
we'll see.
Good luck with that.
I'm committed for a year. I paid for a year, so.
So you're committed for a year.
Yeah, I wanted to lock myself in on all this stuff.
That's probably a good idea.
Yeah.
And I must admit, just my doctor's prescription, so to speak, of eat half is good in theory, and I do that most of the time. And basically, the idea is, what do you look at the plate you would normally eat? Okay, eat half of that.
Yeah,
and it turns out sometimes to be only a few bites.
Yeah.
The other thing I'm doing, which I find pretty interesting, is what's called partial fasting.
Yeah,
So
I did that. I've done that for a long time, and various intermittent fasts, and that does work very well for me.
It does work pretty well.
Yeah, I can't do that on keto. They won't let me do that. They say, no, you can't. You have to eat 3 meals.
Well, I can eat 3 meals a day as long as they're in the 6 or 8 hour range, whatever it is.
Right. Well, you wouldn't. I don't think that's the spirit of it, but okay.
I mean,
you can eat 10 meals if you want.
Totally, yeah, eat 10 meals if you want. No. But I mean, when I eat now, it's generally between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m.
Yeah, and I do that too.
And then after that, you just don't eat.
Can you stick around for the top of the hour?
Sure.
All right. Just used up your entire segment. Sorry.
Hey, I love talking about diet. That's fine.
Yeah, I'm impressed. I had no idea. That's great. Congratulations. Yeah. 8888. Ask Leo. That's the phone number. Robert, Glendale, California is next. Hello, Robert.
Yes, Leo.
Hey.
I'm backing up in the cloud on carbonite.
Good man. Our sponsor.
And I've had a meltdown on my Dell, so I'm going to rely on recovery from carbonite.
Okay.
Recently, yeah.
One caution for others is, and we talk about this 3-2-1 backup, which is not one copy, not one backup, but 3, because if anything should happen to one of them, it's good to have a second one. Carbonite's great because it's the off-site. You need to have some off-site backup, but it's always good to have a local full backup as well, just in case. But I'm just saying that for everybody, not to just say, okay, I only have one copy and it's in the cloud. However, you're lucky you got that, right?
Yes. So I've bought a new Dell computer with a terabyte of hard disk space. Now, when I went to Carbonite, when I'm on my computer, Windows Explorer, the tree pane, when I go to the tree pane there and I punch up on Carbonite's backup drive, I'm able to see the folders, the subfolders, and the files in the subfolders.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is what I want to know. When I try to recover this onto my new computer, am I going to get the data back in exactly the same format?
Yes, you should.
I would.
Yeah.
Okay, because when I went to Carbonite, it's far less than clear to me. They have some kind of interface there, and it shows a couple of files way down the path system, and it's unusable to me the way they have their computer set up. I'm unable to determine with certainty that they're doing what they say they're doing, that they're backing up my files.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's nice to be any backup solution that you use. I strongly recommend that you be able to see what's backed up and do spot checks.
Yeah.
Really good in enterprise grade backups will always have a verification system set up so that it can verify it. And I say this from bitter experience years ago. I thought, I'm backing up everything, and then of course when it came time to restore, it turned out it wasn't. It was garbled. And that's what happens when you use a blob backup solution. A lot of backup solutions back up to one big file, and you can't, even if they have a verification. That really taught me, I'm going to do what you're doing, which is I'm going to have a tree where I can see all the files and the folders, and I can check one, I can open one and see if it's okay. That to me is really, for my peace of mind, important.
Yeah, so like I said before, when I go to the Windows Explorer,
you see it
on my computer,
yeah.
And then I choose Carbonite Backup, I believe the files are there where I put them, but I don't want them coming back in some some monstrosity that causes me to have scavenger hunt for.
Oh, I know. You don't want you don't want it all to go to one folder.
Yeah.
No, Carbonite should, if everything goes well, it should back up the structure. Yes.
Okay, so when I had a hard drive, and I went to Windows Explorer pane, and I took one of the big files off of Carbonite's backup, and I dragged it onto external drive, Am I going to be able to do that with the files that are on there right now?
Yeah, if you want to do onesie Tuesday, of course, they have a full restore as well. So you get, you could do it either way. Yes, and that's one of the things I really, again, with backup, I want to be able to do that as well. Because sometimes you throw out one file. You don't want to have to restore a whole backup just to get one file. Most backup programs will let you do that.
Okay, one of the other questions, this just came to my attention. I went to CloudWards, I believe it is, WARDS.net, and they were comparing Carbonite to CrashPlan. And one thing I did not know is there's a nice little notice on what files Carbonite backs up. It goes through your computer, and it Carbonite selects which ones are going to be backed up.
Yeah, by default, and this is a convenience, if you don't change the configuration, it won't back up the largest files like movies and stuff, mainly because an online backup solution is slow. People sometimes say, well, I have very fast internet, 100 megabit internet, but it's not the 100 megabit down that you have to worry about. It's the upstream. And, of course, that's going to be a much smaller number. Maybe 3 to 5. Sometimes you're lucky you get 20 megabits up, but rarely more than that. And Carbonite wants to be polite as well. It doesn't want to use up so much bandwidth that you can't download anything. You need both directions to download. So Carbonite is not using all your bandwidth, usually about half or less, as it should. It really shouldn't even use half. I think most of the time it's less. So it's trickling your files up to the cloud. You wouldn't want it to just say, take the whole hard drive. It would take months to back up a terabyte hard drive, under those circumstances. So it's really important to understand what cloud backup is. It is really for the most critical files, the files you create. And it's usually assuming that that's text documents and things like that. If you have large media files, are you making a movie? You wouldn't want to use Carbonite, almost certainly. You'd want to use some other system of offsite backup that can handle large files. You don't want to choke your bandwidth trying to upload massive amounts of files. So by default, any cloud backup system will limit initially out of the box, in its default setting, what you back up. You can change that in any system, including Carbonite. You could say, no, I want you to back up those big files. But I wouldn't recommend it because you're going to be stuck over the next month backing up that one movie file, and your documents aren't going to get backed up. So it's really probably good to use the defaults on Carbonite. But it's also a good idea to examine them and see. And if you want to back up photos, there are better ways to do it. There are a lot of places that will back up your photos for no cost. If you want to back up music, same thing. Google, Amazon, Apple, all will back up your music. Actually, I think Amazon has stopped, but at no cost. So you really I think it's important to kind of think about what you're using and choose the right tool for that. There's no one panacea backup solution. Anytime you're doing backup, you really want to think about the kinds of disasters, the kinds of things you want to recover from, and then what the best way to do that would be. Carbonite, like a lot of companies, actually allows you to send them a hard drive. In fact, they'll send you a hard drive to fill up and send it back to them for those really big files because it's too slow to upload them over a consumer-grade internet connection. When you get to enterprises, businesses, and by the way, Carbonite really has moved to focus on business, I think partly for this reason. That's a different matter. Here at our studios, we have 10 gigabits download speed and we have 10 gigabits upload speed. So for us, a cloud solution is a lot more sensible because we have so much bandwidth going up that we can, in fact, upload terabytes of data. But we're a business. That's very typical of a business. A home user doesn't typically have that much bandwidth upstream. So yeah, you should read. Carbonite's designed, and the consumer version, and again, I think they're really kind of moving away from that. Notice all the ads we've been doing lately have been for business. It's designed to do sensible defaults because it knows consumers don't mess with defaults. But if it's not what you want, you should change it, and you probably should look at it. Most people don't. Most people just turn it on and say, "Hey, it didn't back up this or that." Check. Hey, I appreciate the call. I didn't mean to make this a Carbonite support call. They're good. They have great support. Call them if you have any questions. That's really who you should ask. Just because I do ads for them doesn't mean I'm an expert by any means. All right, Scotty.
The whole big 8.5 minutes.
All yours while I step out.
Please, go take a break.
Enjoy.
Thank you. Marsworm, we're talking in the chat room about OTA, over the air, versus OTT, over the top, internet streaming, and also physical media, discs and stuff. And Marsworm asks, isn't OTA the best with no compression? Well, the answer is OTA is extremely good, but it does use compression. Everything that gets delivered to your house uses compression. If there was no compression on the video signal, it would be so massive that nothing could contain it. HDMI couldn't carry it. Nothing could carry it. It's just massive. Even when they're working on it in post-production, it is compressed somewhat, slightly, to some degree. But it still is compressed. And so by the time it gets to you, to us, it's more compressed. Now, OTA, over the air, is certainly less compressed than OTT streaming. But even Ultra HD Blu-ray is compressed. So everything is compressed. And so, yes, Joe got it here. OTA is compressed, but only once. I don't think that's entirely true from the provider. Yeah, well, it is from the provider. But it was compressed when it was being produced as well. So that's the answer to that question. Hey, Chris Miami. Hola. So nice to see you. Thank you for your kind words. Beatmaster, it all comes down to bit rates. Yeah, that's true. And somebody else in the chat room earlier was saying, that bit rates are getting better. And they are. The U.S. is trying to catch up with some other countries. But it all does come down to bit rate when it has to do with streaming. You're sure right about that. And we were talking also about over-the-air 4K, which uses a system called ATSC 3.0. And I was under the impression, I thought I remembered reading that they were doing some testing in a couple of different markets, Phoenix, Arizona being one of them. And one of our chatters, Compter, is in Phoenix. So he asked, did he need special equipment to try out ATSC 3.0? And the answer is yes, you do. I'm not exactly sure how a consumer would go about doing it because there are no TVs with ATSC 3.0 tuners in them yet. I suspect we'll see some at CES in a little less than a year from now. So that would mean you would need an outboard tuner. And this same thing happened when we transitioned from analog to digital. We went from standard def to high def. At first, the TVs didn't have tuners in them, and so you had to buy an external tuner. And now, of course, you don't have to because almost every TV comes with a tuner built in. So you don't need an external tuner. But at this point, if you're in Phoenix or Cleveland, is that one of the other ones? I'd have to go look it up. You would need an external tuner. And does anybody sell an external ATSC 3.0 tuner to consumers? I don't think so. Mike Heiss, do you know? Is there a tuner that one can buy? I don't actually know that. Let me see if I can quickly find if Phoenix is truly one of the places that are testing this. Let's see. Phoenix, spell it correctly, ATSC 3.0. Let's see here. Yes, ATSC.org is the place to go look for ATSC news. Phoenix Rises, broadcasters launching ATSC 3.0 model market. Let's see. An initiative in Phoenix, ATSC 3.0. When was this written? I don't see a date on it. But KNXV, Channel 15, KSAZ, Channel 10, there's a bunch of them that are doing it. But how do you get it? How do you receive it? It doesn't say, at least not that I've seen here. can't be only for people in the industry. Boy, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I'll have to do some more. I'll have to do some more research on that. Let's see. Mick has 4 external digital to analog tuners. Okay, these are the old converter boxes that when we switched to digital, they converted that back to analog for older TVs. Can I sell them on eBay? Well, you can try. I don't think they'll get very much. That's a pretty dead technology. Let's see. Mandy the Clown is saying, I'm looking at getting a Fire recast for my OTA DVR. Have you reviewed it? No, I haven't. I know it's a bit down market for you. Well, no, it's not necessarily down market. I do like looking at high-end stuff. Who wouldn't? But I have not tried the Fire recast. I would be interested to know what you think. If you try it out, let me know. Rocket 88, can a 50-inch TCL 50S423 for $279 really be this cheap but good? Are there any gotchas, like don't last long or some such thing? It's a good question. I don't know about the longevity. TCL is makes a surprisingly good product for surprisingly low money. I myself am not as fond of the S series, also known as the 4 series. TCL has its sort of nomenclature a little bit cattywampus. But in any event, the S series uses what's called edge lighting. So the lighting, the backlighting for the TV, the LCD TV, is located along the edge of the screen. This is never as good as full array local dimming or fold backlighting. That is the best or the better of the two types of backlighting. The TCL 6 series, this year I believe it's the R615 or 612, something like that, which is more in the, for a 50-incher, that's probably more in the $400 range or $500 range, which is still really cheap. But I would definitely look at the R, I think it's 615, the 6 series anyway. I would look at that. I would spend a little more money and go for the 6 series over the S series because of edge lighting. As far as longevity or other gotchas, I don't really know. But I do respect TCL greatly. They've done a great job at the low end of the TV market. No question. Let's see here. Well, I think that's about it. Uh-oh. Here he is. He's back.
I'm here.
Okay.
Thanks,
good.
Scott. Have a great week.
Sure, you too.
Bye-bye.
See you next week.
Yeah, it creeps up on us. But then you remember, gosh, I haven't been in a bank in 4 years, right? Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, you know, all that jazz, anything with a chip in it. Phone number if you want to call and ask a question, make a comment, make a suggestion. Easy to remember, 8888-ASK-LEO. 8888-ASK-LEO. 888-827-5536. You can call that from toll-free anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. We have stations all over the North American area. But if you're not in North America, you can still call. Just use Skype out, and it should be toll-free. 8888-ASK-LEO. There was something else I wanted to tell you. Oh, yes. I saw this article. This is our last caller mentioned Backblaze, which is a backup company kind of like Carbonite. And as you might imagine, they use, like Carbonite, a lot of hard drives. And lately, companies have been looking at solid-state drives to replace their spinning drives. But the question that was in back of everybody's mind, and certainly mine, and the question I get asked a lot is, are these new solid-state drives as reliable as spinning drives? They've had an advantage, spinning drives, for some time in price. You get much higher capacity, much lower cost per gigabyte. That's starting to evaporate. Solid-state drives are getting to be close to the cost of spinning drives. They still aren't at the capacity. You can get 8 terabyte spinning drives. Not that I'd recommend that. Solid-state drives aren't quite as big yet, and they do get very expensive if you get to the 2 terabyte solid-state drive. But for most people, the single terabyte drive in their computer probably should be solid-state, because solid-state has one huge advantage. It's fast. It loads programs. It boots up in seconds instead of minutes. It's even faster writing data, but it's fastest at reading data, and it's because it's totally random access like your memory. It doesn't have to, find something on a spinning drive. Imagine if computers are good, but do you think you could find a speck of data on a drive spinning at 7,000 revolutions a minute? That's not easy. So it's a little easier when you just random access a drive that has no moving parts. For a long time, people have said, yeah, but, there's an advantage because no moving parts. But there's a disadvantage because we know that the memory cells used in solid-state memory, they're very similar, in fact, in some cases identical to the memory in your camera, for instance, or your phone. Those memory cells have a limited number of read and write cycles, particularly write cycles, and they'll wear out faster. But people have been very clever in designing these SSDs. They do something called wear leveling that makes sure that no one part of the drive gets more activity than the others. So I'll put in the show notes an article from Backblaze answering this question: how reliable are SSDs? And I'll just give you the bottom line. There's a lot, of this and that. They hedge their bets a little bit, saying, well, it depends what you're going to use it for. But the thing that I think is most interesting to me, and the thing that I think most people have wanted to know, solid-state drives are as reliable as hard disk drives, unless you're using them in some odd way. So this is the line that I took as the TLDR, the bottom line. SSDs can be expected to last as long or longer than HDDs, spinning hard drives, in most general applications. And they said you should trust the manufacturer's specifications. An SSD should ideally last as long as its manufacturer expects it to last, providing you're using it in a kind of a normal way. So this is really good news, and answers a question that a lot of people have had. A lot of people stayed away from solid-state drives, despite the advantages, the speed improvements, because it really can take a computer that feels sluggish and make it lightning quick. Turns out disk access is one of the things that can really slow down a machine. If you can afford a solid-state drive in your computer, there's no reason not to get one, or at least reliability is not an issue. They are as reliable, or if not more, than your old-fashioned spinning drives. And in fact, that's I've concluded that a long time ago, and any computer I buy now has solid-state memory. And of course, your phone has solid-state memory. It has to. And many laptops don't even come with spinning drives anymore. But from now on, it's an SSD for me. And then the price differences will really have something to do with the lifespan, but more importantly, the speed of the drive, because there are different technologies. Good article, though, in the Backblaze blog. So I'll put a link to that in the show notes. And anybody who wants to know a little bit more or understand the technology a little bit more can look that up at techguylabs.com. It's good news. Back to the phones. We go line 3, Diane in Chicago. Hi, Diane. How you doing?
Well, Leo, I'm not your happy camper today.
Uh-oh. Now, you saw the Samsung announcements. Aren't you excited about the new Galaxy phones? I know you love your Note.
Well, this is my second Note 9 512 gigs. And my music app is not opening. As soon as I touch it, it closes immediately. Okay, a Samsung tech suggested removing the entire app and reinstalling it.
Yeah.
I have 4,000 songs.
Oh, it won't remove the songs. It shouldn't remove the songs. Which app are you using? Is it the Samsung Music app?
Yes.
So here's the good news. Those songs are stored on an Android device, are stored in the music folder, which is accessible to any other music player. So one way to solve this is to just stop using the Samsung music player and go out to the Android Play Store and choose another one. I like Double Twist. You can use the Google Play Music. Do you pay for any streaming music from anybody? Do you have a music service you listen to?
No.
Okay. Because most of the music players for those services will also find those songs. So the answer is music on an Android phone is stored in a standard location. I have to look, but I'm pretty sure. I don't have my Samsung right in front of me, but I'm pretty sure Samsung does that with their Galaxy music player, which means that deleting the app won't delete the music, A, and B, you don't even have to delete the app to use somebody else's app.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. And there was one that I used to use on my computer, on my laptop all the time. I can't remember the name of it right now. So is it possible for me to copy all of these onto my laptop?
Yeah.
Before?
Yeah, in fact, if that's the only copy you have of those songs, definitely do that. A phone is a terrible place to it's not a backup solution. Terrible place to have the only copy of your favorite songs. So before you do anything else, on a Mac, you have to download a special program called Android File Transfer. But on Windows, most Windows machines, when you plug in your phone to the USB port, so you use a cable connecting to your Note 9, the Type-C cable, and connect it to your computer, the computer, once it's connected, the phone will say, oh, do you want to use, how do you want me to be? Do you want me to be for photos, like a camera, or do you want me to be like a hard drive? And I can't remember what Galaxy says, but they have different, something will pop up, say USB mode. You want it to be mass storage device, like a USB drive. Pick that, and then it will show up on the desktop of your computer as your phone. You'll have to burrow around to find music. There's a folder called Music, but all your songs are in there. They're MP3s, just like you can play on your computer. Definitely make a copy to your computer. That's really important, Diane, because so many times I've heard people who have photos or music or something precious to them on their phone, and they haven't backed it up. We're used to backing up our computers, but phones, how do you back it up? Back it up, because it's not a good place to keep your precious stuff. You can lose it. It can break. Hard drives fail, and they fail in phones too, storage media. So definitely back it up, Diane. And then you can choose. There's so many. If you look for music players, there's a million music players in the Android store. I happen to like Double Twist, and there's a PC version of Double Twist too that you could use. But any of those should be able to see the music on the phone and play it. You don't have to use Samsungs. I've never used Samsungs. I don't even like it. I don't even like it. Great to hear from you, Diane. Diane's a longtime listener, and we love to hear about her troubles with her phones, because if you have a phone, if you got a computer, if you have technology, let's just say that. Mo technology, mo problems. It's just the way it is. This show brought to you, as always, by our great sponsors, including DigitalOcean. We're big fans of Digital. I'm personally a big fan of DigitalOcean. I've used it for some time. I know Father Robert used to use it all the time, too. But also, many companies use it. A lot of developers, people learning. What DigitalOcean is in effect, hosting for your web application or your software as a service. It makes it really easy to create a server, provision it, and get it up and running in literally under a minute, and then really affordable to run it. So, I look at this kind of stuff and think, this is why the world has changed, is providers like DigitalOcean who make, if you've got a great idea for a web service, like my friend Kevin Rose when he thought up Dig, right? He, at that time, 15 years ago, he had to go out, find a hosting company, then found a colo, then bought the hardware, then installed the hardware, then put on the operating system, then installed the software, and then if it didn't work, they had to go back to the cage, unlock it, go in there and change it. It was a nightmare. Today, a young kid, a smart kid, has a great idea. They set up DigitalOcean. They call them droplets, like a droplet in the ocean. 52 seconds later, they're up and running with a public IP address. Software as a service. It's a great place to make a minimum viable product. But what's great is as it grows, DigitalOcean can grow with you. because they have everything you need. Enterprise SSDs, so they're fast. You can add CPU, you can add storage, security, monitoring. You can run DNS from it. Let me just go to DigitalOcean and show you. This is such a cool service. I just logged into my DigitalOcean account. Oh, look. They now have managed databases for PostgreSQL. That's nice. So I've only spent 70 cents this month. Notice I've killed the droplets I had created for previous shows. I don't have anything running right now. So let's create a new droplet. Why don't we? And I literally can do this during the ad. Choose from different operating systems: Ubuntu, FreeBSD, Fedora, Debian, CentOS. You can also do containers. They have Kubernetes, Docker, and so forth. But I'm going to do the one-click apps. I love this feature. Let's say I'm a Node.js guy, or I'm trying to learn Node.js, or MongoDB, or LAMP, or MySQL, or now PostgreSQL. Let's say I want to have Ruby on Rails. I want to learn how to do Ruby, or Docker, or Ghost, or Django, or on and on and on. I'm going to pick one. I've been working on progressive web apps, and I want to have Node.js. So this is going to be Node.js running on Ubuntu 18.04. Let's choose the plan, and there's a variety of sizes. I always start with a small size because this is going to just be me playing around, but you can see I can upgrade it all the way to how many 192 gigabytes, 32 CPUs, 3.75 terabytes of SSD, and 12 terabytes a month of transfer. I won't need that. I'm going to need something a little bit less, which, by the way, is $5 a month and 0.7 cents an hour. So that's a good deal. Do you want backups? I always enable backups. It's $1 a month. That way I don't have to worry. I don't need more storage yet. Again, all of this can be added after the fact. Choose your server, and they have them all over: New York, San Francisco, Amsterdam, Singapore, London, Frankfurt, Bangalore, and Toronto. I always choose San Francisco. That's my closest server. You can have other features like private networking, IPv6. You can use cloud in it to configure your droplet with user data. They've got additional droplet monitoring and metrics. I always, and you should too, use my SSH key to log in. That's pretty darn important. That way you're really secure. You see, this is going to be the host name, but let's just say it's Leo's Node. How about that? That's easier for me to remember. Create tags. There's lots more you can do, but that's the basic setup. Now watch. I press create. Within 52 seconds, I'm going to have a server up, running, and fully provisioned with Node.js and a full stack, ready to go, ready to program with a public IP address, SSH login, and more. 99.99% uptime SLA. They have cloud firewalls, full DNS management. As you see, global data centers all over the world, 12 of them, and round-the-clock tech support. And it's really affordable. They've got a full API and an easy-to-use control panel. Oh, done. I have a server, Leo's Node. Shall we SSH into it? Let me get into this. My server's running. It's running Ubuntu. It's going to boot up, and it's going to be running Node.js. That is awesome. That's how fast. Provision and unprovisioned servers as you need them. Add features as you need them. This is empowering technology, really empowering technology. And now I've got my login. Of course, I don't know my credentials, but you can find them here. Wait a minute, I can just SSH in, right? Because I'm using a public key. Okay, no problem. 150,000 businesses, including some of the world's fastest growing startups, rely on DigitalOcean to remove infrastructure friction and deliver industry-leading price performance. And man, those SSDs are fast. And when you're done, it's just this easy. Destroy my node. I'm going to destroy the droplet. Billing ends. I paid nothing. The droplet has been destroyed. That's how easy it is. I love Node.js. If you want to learn programming, if you want to create a minimum viable product, if you've got a SaaS application that you'd like to try or even run, do.co/twit. do.co/twit. They'll give you a free $100 credit. 150,000 businesses, including some of the world's fastest growing startups, rely on DigitalOcean to remove infrastructure friction and deliver industry-leading price performance. But I already said that. Here's all you need to know. do.co/twit. Get a $100 credit right now. DigitalOcean, trusted by businesses, loved by developers. And they're a pretty good podcast sponsor, too. All right, back to the show. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Let's get back to the phones. And line one, Dan in New Jersey. Hi, Dan.
Hi, Leo.
Welcome.
A pleasure to speak to you again.
Thank you.
I spoke to you last week. I thought I had settled an issue.
And then you went to the store.
Then an active mind just can't sit still,
Yep, I do know that.
My son is going to be going on an exchange student trip to China.
Oh, yeah. I remember talking to you.
And so we discussed that he would get a MacBook Air. But then there were discounts at Best Buy, but they did not apply to, let's say, the model that I would like to get him. It was all 8 gigabyte RAM, et cetera. So anyway, I started then going to the B&H site and looking at MacBook Pros, like some of the lower, because once you started adding RAM or a larger hard drive to the Air, it starts moving into the next category.
It gets expensive, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, the Apple pricing, well, it's expensive, period. It's a premium. You pay a premium price for Apple gear. And it used to be we'd say, oh, pick the amount you want to spend, and then you just look on the chart and you buy that Mac. But as you're pointing out, there's overlaps. The more expensive MacBook Air costs less than a low-end MacBook Pro.
Exactly. It could start driving you crazy.
So really what you should be thinking about, and the reason I still recommend the Air is its form factor. Now, a number of people pointed out, Leo, the MacBook Air isn't that much smaller than a 13-inch MacBook Pro. But if you hold both in your hands, there's an appreciable difference. At the fattest end of the MacBook Pro is about the same size as the fattest end of the MacBook Air.
Right.
But their weight is different. And I just think the MacBook Air fits more into a portable lifestyle. You can put it in a backpack easier. It's just, to me, it's a great thing. So the question is, why do you think you should, even if it's the same price or less, why should you buy a MacBook Pro? Is it the power?
It's the power. And now, just today, I don't want to get too specialized, on a national show or whatever.
Oh, please do. I like that.
The B&H site has a MacBook Pro with Touch Bar, mid-2017, with $800 off.
Wow.
So it's $2,099 for,
So the first thing I'd say is, the Touch Bar is not a desirable feature.
Right. I understand. I was looking at the other one.
One of the reasons I love my MacBook Air, and as you pointed out last weekend, I call it Mom's Home Cooking, is because it is more like the old MacBooks. It doesn't have a Touch Bar. I hit the Touch Bar. I had, and I still have, a MacBook Pro with a Touch Bar, but I hit the Touch Bar by accident all the time. There is a way to make the Touch Bar more useful. It's a third-party program called Better Touch Tool. Highly recommend it. Then the Touch Bar can be much more useful. But it's still, in my opinion, a gimmick, and not a gimmick worth paying for. However, you've kind of you've made it more complicated by the $800 off. What are the specs of the $800?
Well, that's the thing. It's 16 gigabytes and 1 terabyte.
Okay, get that. The other thing is, you can, now that you've gone down this rabbit hole, even look at 32 gigabytes. You couldn't put 32 on the Air, but you can on the MacBook Pro.
Yeah, I don't know. I think on this one, which is mid 2017.
That's why it's cheaper. It's not the latest one.
Right.
So they have 2018 MacBook Pros. That's why it's cheaper. Yeah, 16 and terabyte. That's pretty good.
For $2,099.
Yeah. Yeah. What is your son? Doesn't he have some input here?
No.
It's Dad's money. Dad gets his say.
Right. I'll ask him right before I push.
What is the just out of curiosity? What is the terabyte MacBook Air?
The terabyte. Oh, that is 2600.
Wow. Okay, yeah, go with the MacBook Pro. Its processor is still going to be faster than the U processor Apple uses, the low-power processor Apple uses in the MacBook Air. And you do get more storage. Is it refurbished or brand new?
It says brand new.
Okay.
It doesn't say refurbished, put it that way.
Yeah, no, it'd have to if it is.
So is it slower, the 3 point whatever, than the
No.
new? It's faster, right?
It's faster.
Yeah.
But more importantly, you get more storage
Right. I know.
for $500 less. I can't see any reason not to do it. Your son will get it. Okay, I'll give you the two reasons not to. One, but this is personal. I loathe the touch bar. However, that's not really, that's neither here nor there. Your son might love it. It does have the old butterfly keys that had problems with crumbs. In the 2018 version of these computers, including the MacBook Air, they've put in a rubber membrane that protects against crumb intrusion and also softens the keyboard a little bit, in my opinion, making it usable. I didn't really think the older keyboards were as good. Again, if your son eats over the keyboard, of course he does. He's a teenager. What am I thinking? Then that might be one issue. But get the Apple Care Plus, and they'll replace it. It's an $800 fix if it gets crumbs under there.
Jeez. Okay.
Just so you know, it's good. Penny wise, pound foolish. I also want to give you, the original Apple slogan. It made me think of this. Was a quote about Sir Isaac Newton, a Wordsworth quote that I think is applicable to your son. This was the old Apple logo in the earliest days of Apple. A mind forever voyaging through strange seas of thought.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Alone. I'll leave out the alone because he's going to have lots of friends around him. I think you're a great dad, Dan. Get the MacBook Pro. I think you hit the right combination of price and power.
Okay, thanks a lot, Leo.
Good man. Have a great time.
Take it easy.
See ya. Bye-bye. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Talk about cars when we get back. Or are we going to talk about Johnny Jet? Damn it, we talk about travel when we get back. Take two. I don't understand how this show works. Johnny Jet's here. I don't know what I'm talking about cars tomorrow. What do you want to talk about today, Johnny?
Whatever you want, Leo. How you doing?
Want to talk about cars?
I'm not a very... I'm Johnny Jet, not Johnny Carr. I don't think you want me talking about cars. My brother could take a car apart and put it back together.
Wow.
I'm the opposite.
Yeah, me too. Although I'm really I have lust in my heart, I must confess.
Yeah, for the
new Porsche Taycan. Their first electric. It's brand new. It's their first electric. You want to see it?
Of course.
I don't think I'm going to be able to get one, but
how much is that?
Oh, if you have to ask how much.
Well, I can't afford it, so I'm asking.
I don't even know because I just get the company to buy it for me, so.
Well, I got to start working in the studio.
They don't buy it. We don't buy it. We lease it.
So if you're driving from San Francisco to L.A., are you going to have a hard time finding a place to charge that thing? No.
You know why? There. That's a better picture. It does look like the Batmobile. So part of Dieselgate, the Audi VW, they got in trouble because they were faking emissions.
Right.
Part of their settlement is $2 billion in electrifying America. So they started a company called Electrify America, and they're building high-speed charging stations all over the country.
Wow.
And this is really the real advantage that Tesla has had all this time is their superchargers.
Right.
But they'll have these high-speed Electrify America chargers all over the country, and so it'll be much easier. This has a 250-mile range, kind of like my Tesla.
Okay.
Anyway, I don't know why I'm telling you that. Oh, because I said we'd be talking about cars.
Yeah.
That's why. Now we've done it. Johnny Jet is here. He's been everywhere. Hello, Johnny. Where have you been since I saw you last?
Well, on Monday, I flew to New York City.
Okay.
Spent the night there. I booked a hotel while I was on the plane using HotelTonight.
Wow. On the plane?
$120. Yeah, using the Wi-Fi. And then I stayed at Hotel Renwick, which I'd never even heard of, but it's right near Grand Central.
You have to do that the day that you're going to stay there, though, right? No?
You used to have to do it at noon, and then they changed it to 9 a.m. and now you can do it way in advance.
Because the whole idea was hotels are kind of like airplanes. If the night goes by and the room is unfilled, they've lost all of that money. So they'd rather get $120 than $250, but they don't want to do it until it's like the last minute.
Exactly. But so you can still check a week in advance, 2 weeks, and whatever you want to check.
Yeah. Do you get a better price the closer you get?
I believe you do. I haven't looked at the data, but I believe you do. But they do have HotelTonight, by the way, has a new thing called I think it's like a daily drop deal. So you have 15 minutes. You slide it, and it gives you 15 minutes for one deal in the city that you're looking for. And if you want it, you grab it. Otherwise, you have to wait 24 hours for another deal. And when I did it, it was like a Hampton Inn, which I did not want to stay at. So it was only $67.
Wow.
But
that's even $120 in New York City is very cheap. This is something, though, that this is a pet peeve of mine.
Yep.
Every app, it used to be just games, but now every app is adding gambling to the app. They call it gamification. And this is an example, a perfect example of gamification. By making it, oh, you got to do this. Oh, it's fun. Yes. Oh, I hope I get a big payoff. I think it's kind of manipulating your lizard mind.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's
your lizard mind's there to be manipulated, baby.
That's why we have lizard minds, or at least I do.
Might be your monkey mind. It's one of them. I don't know.
But one thing, by the way, when you're using HotelTonight or if you're booking anything online or even just a hotel in New York City, be cognizant of a lot of these hotels, especially Marriott properties in Starwood. They charge a resort fee basically in the city. It's an urban city fee or something they call. And I love Marriott hotels, but I do not like these fees. They charge, luckily you can go through HotelTonight and you read down the bottom. It says, well, this hotel is going to charge an extra.
Does it tell you? Good. Yeah. Resort fees.
It does tell you, but it's
so annoying. Because you can't say no. You can't say, no, I'm not going to use the sauna. I don't want to pay for that.
Yeah. So this is why I booked Hilton this time, because they do not charge it. The Marriott, some of the hotels wanted $45 resort fee.
And of course, New York has an occupancy tax too. That's fairly hefty at many cities.
But that's included. That's included in the price on HotelTonight.
Oh, it is good. All right.
But if they do add like an urban city fee or whatever they call it, that is not. So you have to pay extra for that.
It's dirty. We got to clean the windowsills every day. That's going to cost you.
Well, and speaking of Starwood and Marriott, I don't know if you saw this week that they came out with a website to find out if you were one of the 383 million people hacked.
Except
so the thing about you have to put your information down.
Yeah.
And then they're going to let you know at a later time if you were one of them. So I didn't do it.
Give us your information, and maybe we'll tell you. See, let me tell you something about that. Don't do it, Johnny, and I'll tell you why.
And I didn't.
The best guess of our intelligence community, which unlike some I still respect, is that Marriott hack was by the Chinese government. It was Chinese nationals. It will never, much like the Experian hack, or what was it, Equifax hack, right? Where that Equifax data was never, ever seen again. Wasn't put on the dark web for sale. The same thing with this Marriott data. It's believed by our intelligence community, it's the Chinese doing the hacking, and they keep it to themselves. They're not trying to make money on your credit card. Okay. They're trying to track Chinese nationals and U.S. spies. Huh. And what better information than hotel registration, hotel logins, passport numbers, that kind of thing. It's a very valuable asset for them. So this was espionage in the traditional, spy versus spy style. And probably, in other words, nothing you need to worry about. So there's no reason to give Marriott any information. Right. Presumably, if you were an account holder, an SPG account holder, they already have that information. But
and to make it clear, it's not a Marriott hack. It's a Starwood because it happened before Marriott bought them. Yeah. And so I think Marriott got a raw deal on that. And actually, a Chinese company was going to buy them before Marriott. They actually won the bid, and then they backed out, which is
they said, we don't need to buy you. We'll just hack you. It's a lot cheaper.
It's really like a movie plot. But I put it in the chat room, the website, and also, but don't do it. I mean, I didn't do it because I didn't trust it, and you're just
giving them more information. I mean, presumably, if you were an SPG account holder, they already have that, right?
Right.
I mean, they have mine. I'm an SPG account member.
I don't know. They don't have your passport info and stuff like that.
No, and they don't ask for that on that page either. I hope.
I didn't click it.
Yeah. A lot of times, this happened with the Equifax hack. It ended up being a way for them to sell you credit monitoring. And it's like, no, dudes, you blew it.
Yeah.
But I know it seems strange to say it's reassuring to think that it's not hackers, it's not thieves, it's Chinese government. But honestly, unless you're a spy, it probably doesn't impact you. They're not going to sell your credit card information.
Good to know.
Yeah.
So actually from New York,
you know, you could do what our chat room CR1 says. You could also just check with Putin and see. Go ahead, Johnny. What else?
No, that's funny. But from New York, I actually was out in Connecticut for a day, and then I went down to Florida to see my dad. I flew the 737 MAX jet for the very first time.
Ooh, what's that like?
So, everyone online was, American Airlines at least, everyone's ragging on it because the seats are really tight. And the bathroom is so small that, if you're overweight, you're going to have a hard time getting in there. And the sink is half the size. Although I might have just been delirious from being so tired. I actually,
Did you sit on the sink?
Fine.
Oh,
I thought it was fine. But I'll have
so
to
when they say max, they don't mean maximum room. They mean maximum passengers.
Well, basically they do.
Well, remind me.
And then, but what I thought I'd tell you about Briggs and Riley, which I know you love those guys.
Well, that's all my luggage is Briggs and Riley.
So they have a thing called the Random Act of Kindness Day, which was last week, but it goes all month long. And so if anyone has a spare old luggage that's in good condition,
I do, yeah.
You bring it into one of their stores, not their stores, all these luggage stores. They have it online. I just put the link in the chat room, and also I tweeted it. Almost every state has multiple stores, and they'll give you a $100 credit towards a Briggs and Riley bag, and that way, and they donate those old bags to Make-A-Wish Foundation, to the Salvation Army, Goodwill, or a local charity, foster home, women's shelters. So
just another reason to love Briggs and Riley. Aren't they great?
Yeah, last year they donated more than 1,500 pieces of gently used luggage, is what they say.
I like to refresh my luggage. It gets dirty in those planes.
Well, I keep mine. I've had my roller bag for almost 10 years, and I've really beat these things up. That's why I love them, because they have a lifetime warranty. So on my roller suitcase, or actually my wife's, the wheel came off, and I brought it to a local store, luggage store, and they put it on for free. They repair it for free.
That's Briggs and Riley.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, they're a little more expensive, but they're nice.
No,
they don't pay me either. I wish they would. I pay them.
I agree. Once in a while, they'll send me a bag, but I don't.
They've never even done that. I just send them money, and they send me bags. It's an amazing thing. Johnny Jet, you'll find him at johnnyjet.com. That's his website. Lots of great stuff there, including his travel newsletter and all the links he's just mentioned. Follow him on Twitter and Instagram, too, for more information. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Yeah, I decided I have so many fetishes, but luggage is one of my kind of fetishes.
Okay.
And I go back and forth between spinners and the tilt and roll.
Right.
Got to have wheels on the luggage. I'm sorry, I won't buy something that doesn't have some wheels.
Without a doubt.
But spinners are nice, but you don't have as much capacity, right?
Well, that's not. If you're, my problem with spinners are if you're in a hotel that has really thick carpeting in the hallway,
they don't spin.
it makes it difficult to maneuver it.
Right.
But in an airport where it's hardwood floor or whatever it is, right, it's a breeze. You've barely even pushing it.
So I have 3 Briggs and Riley's bags in 3 different sizes. I have the smallest hand luggage, and that's just a roller. I finally upgraded to a carry-on spinner. It's the largest carry-on you can fit, and that's really a nice bag because it's soft-sided. I had a hard-sided bag, and the problem is you run out of room, and there's nothing you can do. You have to sit on the thing.
I don't like hard-sided.
I'm not getting hard-sided ever again. And then I have the giant. Basically, the steamer trunk cruise bag, which is, I think, the biggest bag you can put on.
I have one of those too.
Yeah, but those three. But I'm thinking maybe the hand carry. I should get a spinner because it's a tilt.
Well, when I travel by myself, I don't check luggage. So what I do is I carry my Briggs and Riley laptop roller bag that has all my gear in it, and then I have a Roots duffel bag, leather duffel bag that has my clothes.
And that's your carry-on.
And I put that just on top of my roller bag so I can cruise through the airport.
And they think that's personal. You're the guy I look at. I give them the stink eye. He thinks that's personal? That looks like a bag to me.
No, my laptop bag is the personal one.
You have 3 bags you check? You don't check?
No. Never 3, 2. I have a laptop bag, which is my roller
Oh,
bag.
I get it. That's a smaller bag. Oh, I get it.
It's much smaller. Yeah. And then I have my duffel bag, which is not huge anyway.
As long as you can fit it under the seat, one of them. I don't think they care, right?
I usually can put the laptop bag under a seat, except if they put the IFE.
Oh, I know. I hate that. I don't want that seat.
So then I have to put it up. But, I'm also almost always in the bulkhead, so I have to put my luggage up anyway. So
I've learned this. Everything I know about luggage, I learned from you, Johnny Jen. It's true. It's true.
Well,
I'm ready for our long cruises because I need, some of these cruises are 3 weeks long, so I need a lot of clothes. But between those 3 bags, I'm set.
Well, you should find out if that cruise allows you to do laundry.
Yes, I always find that out ahead of time.
Some of them do. Which ship are you on?
I'm on the Silver Spirit that they split in half and expanded.
Oh, I saw that.
It does have a laundry room, but even though it's really expensive, I usually just send out the laundry as long as I can get it done.
I prefer to do mine, and
I would too. But when I think about what I spent on this cruise, every minute costs a lot of money.
I'm with you. I understand.
I'm not going to waste any of that time doing laundry. Actually, I have done that, though. It's a good way to do it.
But if you do it that way,
you
then
get it back right away.
You don't have to bring so much stuff. Natalie and I would do round the world trips in 3 weeks, and we just bring a week's worth of clothes and either send it to a local laundry to do wash and fold, or do it ourselves.
Smart.
Anyway,
I'm getting ready. I'm about, I think, 5 to 7 years away from a round the world cruise. That's the arrow that I'm aiming at. After that, I'm just going to kick. All right.
All right, buddy.
In fact, I'm going to try to time it so I kick on the last day of the cruise so they can handle all the arrangements.
And you get all the
burial
free
at
food.
sea. I want burial at sea. Thanks, Johnny. I'll see you later. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888. Ask Leo the phone number. On we go with the show. Skip, Reno, Nevada. Hello, Skip. Oh, let me push this button here. Now I can say hello, Skip.
Hello. Are you able to hear me?
I am. Welcome.
All right, great. Good to talk to you. And quickly, I want to tell you, I guess I'm OCD in that clock behind you drives me nuts. Just between
which clock? The big clock with the time, or the blinky lights on the PDP-11?
No, the clock with the time that seems to be a minute fast.
Oh. Okay. Now, acknowledge that you're a little bit OCD on this one, okay?
Well, I preface that.
But, Skip, the reason the time... So he's watching the video of the stream, and he's watching it live. The reason the time doesn't match the actual time is because there's, in any stream, there's some significant delay. In fact, I think you've pinpointed the exact amount. The clock should be accurate. It may not be because, as you know, the National Institutes of Standards and Time, NIST, is being defunded. And this clock, which is one of those, radio clocks that's supposed to synchronize to WWV, is soon not going to work because that WWV automatic synchronization is being turned off. How much can that cost? Can we just get a GoFundMe together to keep that going? I mean, that's ridiculous. Anyway, but in theory, this clock is accurate, but you aren't seeing it in real time. You're seeing, in fact, if you were to, and we encourage you not to do this, have the stream up while we're talking in real time, because the phone call we're having is real time, and then watch the stream or listen to the radio, there would be a significant delay. The radio has 40 seconds delay, and the stream will vary depending on what you're watching. It shouldn't be a minute. It should be a half minute or 45 seconds, though.
Right. Anyway, I have the strange issue. I've been watching you for years on Roku. And
I apologize. I've just been informed by my studio staff that this clock is 35 seconds fast. Would you like to fix it? You can take it, John, and fix it. I apologize, Skip. You're not OCD. You're right. Go ahead. Now ask your question.
Yeah, so anyway, I watch your show. I have 3 Rokus here in my house, and all 3 of them a month ago started in the middle of doing your show, all of a sudden change to a different show.
You're watching it on YouTube Live.
Correct.
Yeah. I don't understand. We've been trying to get to the bottom of this for some time. This is kind of an inside baseball issue. You'd only run into it if you're watching the live stream of this show or any of the other shows I do on the podcast network on a Roku or I get maybe anywhere using YouTube Live. And it's something about YouTube Live that after 15 minutes they think the show's over and then they go to the next thing in the playlist, but they shouldn't be doing that. What's weird is not all YouTube Live stage channels do this, as far as I can tell. It doesn't happen to me, but it only happens to some people. One thing you might look at is see if the settings for YouTube on your Rokus, if the autoplay setting is turned on. That's on by default. But it'd be my guess if you turn that off, this wouldn't happen.
Oh, I'll try that.
But it may also be something people seem to think it's something we're doing. There's something we're sending YouTube Live that's confusing them. We can't for the life of us figure it out. I've got 3 engineers working on it. I don't know what's going on.
Well, I watch it on my iPad on YouTube, and I have no issue.
Yeah, so it's something.
It does it.
And it doesn't happen. And it also doesn't happen to all other YouTube live streams. So that's why people think it's something we're doing, but we're not doing it on purpose. Whatever it is. So I don't know what to say. I apologize. And if you ever see this clock. If you ever say this clock is fast, then it's time to get your head fixed because it should never be fast. It should only be slow. And I'm glad you watch. The one other thing you could do, Skip, is there are other Roku apps that you can use to watch our live stream. We're on Mixer and Twitch TV as well as YouTube Live. So you might try one of those, and maybe they won't be as annoying.
Alrighty.
Thanks for the call. I appreciate it. Yeah, that's kind of inside baseball. That's kind of a tech support question for our podcast viewers. But still, it's an odd issue. I have, as you probably noticed, I'm fascinated by weird, inexplicable problems with computers. I shouldn't be, and I shouldn't tell you this because I don't want you all calling with, my computer talks to me at 4 every afternoon. Can you explain that? I don't want to hear from you. But in theory, all of this stuff is, I call it deterministic. That it's all logical. There's always a cause for every effect in a computer. No magic is in the computer, none. So anything that goes wrong on the computer has an ultimate cause. It has to. Now, it's not always obvious what it is, and because they are very complex systems, sometimes it's very hard to figure out. But that's one of the things I enjoy about my job, about what we do here, is getting to the root cause of things that seem inexplicable. But again, if your computer is talking to you every afternoon at 4 p.m., I don't want to hear from you. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Back to the phones. Line 2, Sam in San Francisco. Hello, Sam.
Hi.
Great to talk to you.
How are you today?
I am well. How are you?
Let me take you off with my speakerphone.
Okay.
Okay. I've got an old computer. I hate change. So I'm still using this old Windows XP machine.
Yikes!
No longer
you not only hate change, you hate yourself.
Well, I don't hook it up to the internet.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, it's dial-up modem is in this machine, and I use it to program machines. That with dial-up modems in them. I've got about 25.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Why do you collect dial-up modems?
No, I don't. No. These are telephone entry systems in front of apartment buildings.
Ah.
I maintain.
And so, okay, that makes perfect sense. So this is a laptop.
No, it's actually
So you can remote access into the entry systems, or do you program them and then bring them in and install them?
No, I remote access into them.
Oh, that's really cool.
With a modem.
So you are on the internet.
I don't need to be on the internet.
Well, how do you remote access?
The telephone system has its own modem.
You call them.
I call them.
Wow. So yeah, you're not on the public internet. That's really the only reason not to use XP. Honestly, right. If it's working for you and it's reliable, then
it's getting old.
Do you have to use XP?
I don't have to use XP.
Okay.
But I've got, these 24, systems programmed into this, all set up. You
don't want to make a big move. I understand that.
Right.
So, are you wondering if you can buy a new computer and install XP on it?
I need to get the information from this old computer into a new computer.
Oh, that you can do. That you can do.
Yeah.
Because the file system NTFS used by XP is still used by Windows today. So the drive in your old computer can be read. The problem is, of course, the interface is probably IDE, or is it SATA?
IDE.
Okay. So you'll need an interface card. I'm going to recommend Newer Tech. They sell a USB adapter that will take an IDE drive and make it a USB drive, which means it's very easy to then plug it into a newer computer and copy everything over.
Fantastic. Okay.
Newertech.com. It's like $30. They call it the Universal Drive Adapter. Every geek should have one.
All right.
Hey, what a cool job. This is a perfect use of an old computer. There's a school system in Maine that's still using an Amiga to control its HVAC. It's okay as long as it works.
Yes. I got one quick question for you if you got a moment.
Sure, hold on.
You're clear.
Okay, now you can go. We had to wrap the radio show, but you're still on the podcast.
Okay, yes. I listen to your podcast all the time.
Oh, lovely. I appreciate it.
I can't listen live, so I listen
Perfect.
to the podcast.
That is what it's there for.
Yeah.
So that's cool. So you could program these, you dial into the phone system, and it's connected to the front intercom system, and you can program everything from there.
Yes, exactly. I keep them updated, get the people's names and phone numbers. So when
that's super cool. And there's a really good example of there's no reason, frankly, not to use XP for that.
Right. Yeah.
It works.
It's been working, but my computer, unfortunately, will freeze up on me. I got reboot, and then it's just like, let me, check all the files to make sure everything's okay.
Oh, that's your hard drive's dying. That's your hard drive. Yeah. So what you could do, and this would be, well, I don't know if you can buy IDE hard drives. Yeah, it might be time for a new computer.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can, but that would be a mistake.
Plenty of computers. It's just that I've gone through and, input all these phone numbers and passwords, and that's all to get access.
So this thing, you could pull the drive out, bare drive. It's not designed for long-term use because it's not an enclosure. It's just got all the interfaces, including the IDE interface, and you plug the cable in, and you'll have to provide power. I think it might even have power on it because, they have those power tails. And then the drive is working, and it's a USB drive. Copy the data off, but, the circuit board's sitting out there in the air, so, it's not a long-term solution. But you know what you're doing. That'd be fine.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I have a Mac Mini.
Yes, sir.
Older Mac Mini, very slow. It's just like painfully slow.
Yeah.
Anything I can do with that?
No. Run Windows XP on it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, putting Linux on it would probably make it run fine. It's a little tricky to get Linux running on Macs because there's so much proprietary stuff.
Right.
You could donate it. The new Mac Minis are superb. In fact, honestly, instead of getting a new Windows machine, you could get a new Mac Mini and run a Windows XP and emulation on it in VM.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'd have the best of both worlds.
Yeah. Yeah, that would work for me, too. That would be good.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Hey, it's great to talk to you. Thanks for listening and watching. I appreciate it.
I've spoken to you in the past.
That's great. I never knew that your job was to program apartment complex phone systems. Is that kind of...
I'm a locksmith by trade.
Ah.
So that's just one of the things
good.
that we
Okay.
do.
My wife wants a safe. Can I ask you about this?
Yes, please.
You know about safes, right?
I'm studying...
Safeology? So, obviously, because she has a lot of valuable stuff, jewelry. Obviously, we don't want to put it in a safe that can be removed from the house because that would just be like, here's all the stuff you want, just take it.
Yes.
Right? And break into it at your leisure at home.
Right.
So we want to build it in, like, I don't know, what do you put it in cement in the foundation? How do you do that?
Well, it depends upon what you're going after. first off, get a composite safe.
Okay, I'm writing this down.
Composite safe, yes. It's a burglary and fire resistant.
That's what we need, yes, because fire is another issue. Yeah.
Exactly. And then we bolt it down.
Bolt it.
Bolt it into the studs or bolt it into the concrete floor. Depends upon where.
Yeah, we're at a frame house. It's got a crawl space, so the concrete is in the foundation, but we'd have to bolt it to the studs, I guess. But I guess, you know what?
Yeah.
That would mean somebody's going to have to come in. That's sufficient, I think. Yeah, bolt it to the studs.
And your composite safes are heavy by nature.
Good. So, yeah, and the neighbors would probably notice if they were doing heavy work with a big truck and a... Yeah, okay. So I'll assume that's sufficient.
Yeah, you don't want something, too small in the walls or...
No, what she would really like it to be is something that has enough drawers that she could actually see the jewelry. She's not going to keep all her jewelry in there, but it'd be nice to be able to go into it and look at it, take pieces out and put them in.
Right. There is...
Like a big door, I guess.
Companies now that are making... jewelry inserts.
Oh, perfect.
Drawers, felt line drawers.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
So composite safe, built into the studs, get the jewelry inserts. It was going to be her Valentine's Day present, but I didn't get it together, so.
A little late. I'll look it up, and I will shoot you an email.
You're sweet, Sam. Thank you. It's Leo@leoville.com.
Yes.
Thank you, Sam.
My pleasure.
You rock.
Okay. Great talking to you.
Have a great day.
You too.
Take care. Bye-bye. I probably shouldn't have said anything about my wife's collection, should I? It's not that valuable. It's just stuff. It's just more, the value is personal. But if somebody were to take it, it would be as if somebody had, taken expensive stuff. So John is now coming in to set the clock. So I guess NIST may not be out of business depending on what Congress does. It never got a signal. Yeah, we take it outside.
Twice a year, the daylight saving time.
Right. It's funny how OCD some people are. Your clock is 30 seconds, but I hear that in the chat room all the time. Your clock is driving me crazy. But it will never match your actual time. However, if it's accurate, then you can see what the lag time is. So that's kind of valuable.
The other thing is you also, when the chat's up, you put something in chat, then you time how long it takes you to see the chat.
Exactly. Chat has a different lag, though, than the audio and video. Chat has its own lag. In fact, chat lag is the lag in the audio video plus the chat lag. Although I guess chat probably doesn't have any lag. So maybe it is equal to the... Forget I said anything. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography. We got your smartphones. We got your smartwatches. We got your Samsung Galaxy S10 Pluses. Actually, we don't yet. March 8th, I'll get that. I did pre-order. Samsung had its big event. It's interesting because this weekend, Mobile World Congress begins in Barcelona, Spain. This is the big mobile phone conference. This is where all the companies will announce their new phones. And this, for the first time in years, is actually an exciting conference because companies have finally decided that we need to do something besides the same old slabs of glass and metal, the black slab phone. If you put the top phones from today in a row on a desk, most people would not have any way of telling them apart. They're just slabs of glass, right? They're so similar. So companies have finally said, oh, look, we got to have some differentiator. And, of course, they only say it because phone sales are plummeting. People aren't buying new phones. The old phone is pretty good, right? What do you need a new phone for? It still works. The only thing that drives people to buy new phones, frankly, is a feature that they'd say, oh, I got to have that. And when's the last time that happened? Maybe Google with its Pixel phones and the amazing, night sight camera and things like that. Maybe if you're a, cell phone photography buff, maybe that's driving you. But otherwise, there's not a lot of Apple's new phones are the fastest phones ever. So what? Do you feel like your phone is too slow? If it's in the last 3 or 4 years, it's probably not. So nobody's saying, "Oh, I need a faster phone. This phone boots up too slow." No. However, this is going to be where we're going to see some crazy new designs. And Samsung kind of kicked things off with the Samsung Fold. They're not shipping it yet. Sometime in the first half of the year, they're going to ship a phone that is $2,000. That's the starting price. Because it has 2 screens. It has a front screen, just like your slab of glass, except it's suspiciously thick. And that's because it's really like 2 phones back to back. You can open it up, and then whatever's on the little screen on the front will then go to a almost 7-inch screen. I think it's even a little more, to a 7-inch screen inside. It is a folding screen, not a hinge in the phone and a hinge with 2 screens. No, it is one screen that the material can fold. So when you open it up, it's a single like tablet display. It's a little more square than a tablet. You can actually simulate it if you take a typical 6-inch phone, take 2 of them, put them together. That's about the thickness of it, and then open it up, and that's about the size of the bigger screen. It's like 2 phones side by side. So it's not huge. It's not an iPad big. It's, bigger than a phone. It's also a lot more expensive than a phone. In fact, it's a lot more expensive than most computers. But there will be people who will buy it. I'll tell you why. Because it's a very clear way to say you have a lot of money. Because it's, it doesn't look like any other phone. You at a business meeting, well, let me just add this, and you open up your phone. I'm going to put you on my agenda. Everybody's their jaws will drop to go, my goodness, he must be rich. Look at that phone. Won't be the only folding phone we'll see this weekend. No, other companies are doing folding phones too. And I imagine there'll be some other oddball things, periscope cameras. Samsung's decided, we don't want to do a notch. We can't do a notch. We mocked Apple for the notch. Remember all those ads with people with their hair cut in a notch? Apple fanatics, fanboys with notched hairdos? Apple mocked them, so they can't do a notch. So they're going to do something similar, though, because if your screen fills up the whole front of the phone, where are you going to put the selfie camera? And believe me, there's a lot of experimentation, but nobody's not putting out a phone with a selfie camera. You got it. You got to have a selfie camera. Did I say that right? Nobody's not putting out a phone. I don't know. I've confused myself. Everybody's putting out a phone with a selfie. Nobody dares not put in a selfie camera. So what Samsung's going to do, we've had to make up nomenclature for this. Instead of the notch, we're going to do the hole punch. There's a hole in the screen, a little round hole, or actually, if you get the S10 Plus, because it's got 2 cameras, a little oval hole, like a little racetrack hole, up in the upper right-hand corner, right where you're going to put your thumb when you're taking a picture. But that's that's another problem. Be interesting. It'll be very interesting. I ordered one because I have to. They're also, for the first time, and I've been wanting phone companies to do this. I guess it's expensive. A couple of the higher-end phones will have ceramic backs. There's black and white ceramic, which is a glass-like material that's harder than glass. And, of course, that's one of the problems with modern phones. These glass backs shatter. I've shattered, in fact, I think it was the S7. I shattered its back almost the day I got it. It fell out. It was so slippery. It was in my breast pocket. I bent over, it fell out, and shattered. That was a sad day for a $1,000 phone. If you're willing to spend $1,500 for a phone, you can get a ceramic back and a terabyte of internal storage. A terabyte. Honestly, and I've never used more than 64 gigabytes in any phone I've had. But a terabyte. And, oh, by the way, if you're going to buy that, we'll throw in 12 gigabytes of RAM. The iPhone has 2. 12 gigabytes of RAM. So this is an overachiever phone. I am interested to see the camera. That has a number of cameras. The Fold itself has, I think, 6 cameras. 2 in the front, 3 inside, and 1 in the back. That's 6 cameras. Yeah. No, 5. Anyway, it's a lot. Because that's one way you can differentiate. Well, they've got 2 cameras. We have 5 cameras. Now, how much would you pay? I'll be very interested. I am a fan of the Galaxy phones, always have been. I've had every Galaxy Note. I've had every Galaxy S. The S9 was a great phone. The Note 9 is still my Galaxy daily carry. Really nice phone. I have a feeling, though, one thing Samsung is doing, and I'm thrilled to hear this, the hardware Samsung makes is always the best. Nobody does a screen as well as Samsung. They make them. Apple buys them from Samsung. But Samsung makes them for their own phones, and that means they really are gorgeous. But Samsung has always felt it was necessary to differentiate themselves by putting a skin on top of Android. And almost always that is worse than just nothing at all. But early reviewers of these new Samsung phone and the new Samsung One interface, people are very positive. They say this is better than vanilla Android. So I'm looking forward to it. I'll have it, again, March 8th. You could order it now if you want. It also comes with wireless Samsung Buds earphones, use Bluetooth, and you can charge them on the back of the phone. This is a nice feature. We're going to start seeing this a lot. Phones that can charge other phones. Rumors are Apple will be doing this too in its new phones this year in September. But I don't look forward to that. I don't know. You're sitting on a train. Guy comes up, says, "Do you mind if I borrow some power from your phone?" No, not going to happen, right? Can't put your phone on my phone. Get your phone off of my phone. So I'm not sure. I'm looking forward to that. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. We shall return and take your calls in just a bit. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. Let's get back to the phones here. Got lots of people want to talk, like Steve in Rancho Cucamonga. Hi, Steve.
Hey, Leo. This is Steve from Rancho Cucamonga. How you doing today?
I am great. Thanks for calling. What can I do for you?
Hey, I've got the Iris home automation hub, and I got notified that at the end of March they're going to discontinue service.
Oh.
And so I'm looking for researching, trying to for a replacement, and I'm looking at maybe the Samsung or potentially the Harmony hub. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so Iris was Lowe's, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, and March 31st, they're just they say, please do not bring your connected Iris devices back to a Lowe's store.
They were actually pretty good because they're giving people credit.
That's
for
nice.
Those devices that aren't going to be forward compatible with other hubs.
So this is a real problem in home automation. Is this kind of Tower of Babel of different competing and incompatible standards? If we had one standard, and there was hope that maybe Apple or Google or Samsung or somebody would create a standard so good that everybody else would just throw up their hands and say, oh, great, let's all use this. That has yet to happen. If Iris had used Zigbee or Z-Wave or one of the existing standards, maybe it wouldn't be, a total loss, but I don't know what protocol it used, but I gather it's not.
They use all of them, actually.
Oh, it does?
A lot of these hub manufacturers support multi-protocol, and so they did support Zigbee. And
so it could, in theory, still work, right?
Well, but it's a cloud-based service.
Oh.
Pull the pin out.
Yeah, so that's not really fully supporting it because you can talk to your devices, but there's nobody home. It's like you got limbs but no brain. All right. Yeah, so that's why I would say if you're going to replace it sounds like you want to. Well, for one thing, if you have Zigbee and Z-Wave devices, then Samsung SmartThings, for instance, which was created to talk to, a multiple of different protocols, might be a good choice. Samsung's very committed to it. This is what you're going to look for right now. You're going to look for a company that makes a hub and a company that's committed to it. Google is, Apple is, Microsoft is. It's going to be these big tech companies, not going to be Lowe's. And I think Samsung would be a safe choice. This is a big deal for them. And what's interesting about Samsung is they make a lot of appliances. They are a huge appliance maker, and all of their appliances will work with SmartThings. So I would say if I were going to pick one, in fact, I see SmartThings cited on the Iris page. Like, many devices used with Iris are compatible with other smart home platforms. That's the Zigbee Z-Wave part. For example, SmartThings is a comparable platform, and the SmartThings support team is ready to assist you with the migration process. Oh, I bet they are. Oh, I bet they are. So I like SmartThings a lot. They used to be a sponsor when they were originally a Kickstarter, and we helped them get off the ground with advertising. Then Samsung bought them. And I think that Samsung is going to be a good steward for this. So that would be one recommendation. I'm waiting for Google and Apple to step up. Apple has HomeKit, but they made it hard for companies to support. And so I'm not too sanguine about the future for that. Google does have its own protocols, Thread and Weave, and so they also are a big player in this space. But you never know with Google when they're going to tire of something, and just for no apparent reason say, "Yeah, we're not going to do that anymore. What's next?" So I would go with Samsung if I were you. I think that's the player.
Yeah, 'cause I think my main concern is, like you said, going forward with it, because I sort of thought that, Iris started and then they looked like they kind of lost some steam and weren't.
You don't want to do this all again. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it's interesting. I wasn't really familiar. I knew the name Iris, but I didn't really realize it was a Lowe's product. That made sense, but Lowe's just isn't big enough to do all of this, I think. So Samsung is. Is Samsung.
Sounds like Samsung's the one.
Yeah, I mean, if we're up to me now, I'm not an Internet of Things expert. I'll ask my IoT guru, Stacy Higginbotham. She's used all this stuff. I will bring this up next time I talk to her on Wednesday for our This Week in Google show, because she probably has a lot to say about Iris going out. That's kind of too bad. They are doing exactly the right thing by giving you your money back. I think that's great.
Yeah, and because they know all the devices, because they all have to be cloud connected. So it just listed all the things and how much they're going to give us in credit for it. And they're going to send us a prepaid Visa card.
Oh, that's great. That's how a company should go out of business.
Yeah.
You don't want them to, but business is business. There's one big player I didn't mention, and in the long run, this might be the winner. Is Amazon. And they are slowly buying up. They just bought Eero, the mesh router we talk about. They were a sponsor. I doubt they'll stick around. They bought Ring doorbells. They were a sponsor. I doubt they'll stick around. They're buying up these products and putting them together. And because they have Amazon Echo everywhere, and as you know, Echo capability is one of the chief features you want in a home automation system. You want to be able to say, lock the door, or even better, say, hey, Echo, good night. And Echo locks the door, makes sure the garage is closed, makes sure the stove's turned off, dims the lights, has your evening routine. That's a great way. Voice is a great way to do home automation. So Amazon may have the inside track here. The one thing that concerns me is all the data you're giving Amazon. You've already given them a ton of data with your Echoes. But now you've got the Eero. The Eero knows every IoT device in your house and how often you use it and when you use it, when you leave, when you come. And the Ring doorbell has video. I mean, more and more Amazon's got a complete view of what's going on inside your house. So that comes down to, do you trust them? There's also no Amazon hub per se yet. But SmartThings will work with stuff from Amazon. So I think I would go with SmartThings. I'm not concerned with privacy with Samsung in the way I am with Amazon. Amazon sells goods. That's how they make money. Amazon sells you. they have a strong invested interest, just like Google and Facebook, in knowing more about you. So I would say Samsung seems a safe bet here.
All right. Well, appreciate.
Yeah, let me know how it works out for you too. What the transition's like. What kinds of things? Do you have lights? Do you have garage door? What kinds of things do you have?
So I've got security, door sensors, motion detector.
Right.
It doesn't. Iris doesn't connect to my Ring, but I have smoke detector. That all integrates. Door lock.
See, a little research on these devices, you may find that you could use your Amazon Echo as a way to control everything. and that may end up being the selling point. You don't really need a hub. You just, because each of these has its own hub, you need something that controls them in a unified fashion. That may be it. I think Amazon's going to be, in the long run, the one to watch on this. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888, ask Leo. I gotta remind you, Big P. I gotta email you my old tech guy theme. I want to close out the show with that. Let me do that. But before we go on, before I go to the email, let me go to the phones and say hi to my good buddy Chris in Miami. Hey, Chris.
Oh,
How many? Wait a minute. Before we go on, how many cups of coffee have you had today?
well, I'm going to be honest with you. Well, because I have to be. I'm in at least 5 cups right now since 6 this morning.
I would never have known.
Well, it's impossible to know.
Chris sells some. What do you sell? You sell some sort of coffee concoction.
Well, I don't do sales and marketing, but in the company, we do have the best tasting, vastly superior coffee. It's the Panama Geisha bean coffee bean from Panama, and it's infrared cooked.
Ooh.
Yeah, well, as you know, because you're a man who knows a lot about infrared cooking food.
I do, actually. I have an infrared grill.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. So, I'm gonna get Chris, because you're such a fan. I'm gonna give you a plug. What website should we go to find out more about Panama Geisha infrared cooked coffee?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so go to my website. It's really easy. The letters C is in Chris, S is in Sierra, number 7. So cs7.sisel.net. So that's SISEL.net.
Can I suggest getting a domain name?
I'm working on it.
Just, crazycoffeeguy.com, something.
Oh, that would be great. Crazy Coffee Guy /twit/Leo Laporte, and then we're in business.
What can I?
Okay.
Okay. Take a deep breath, Chris. What can I do for you today?
I need more coffee.
I need more coffee. No, you don't. No, you don't.
Well, okay. So I appreciate you. I have your email. I actually printed it off and put it on the wall in my office. So,
Chris asked me about LifeLock and whether it's a good idea or not. And I said, I have a LifeLock account. I have for years. But things have changed a little bit in the landscape. Now that it's free to do a credit freeze, that's something everybody should do at no cost. Used to cost a lot of money. It used to be cheaper to do LifeLock. I still think LifeLock's good, and as a public figure, I use it. But, anyway, I sent you the email, and I'm glad you got it.
Yes, you did. I got it. And I was very happy when I got it because I shared it with a group of people, and I said, see, I know Leo Laporte.
See, I really do know him.
I really do know him. In fact, I called my mother last week, and I'm like, Ma, you got to listen to, you're in Cupertino. And I said, you have to. I listen to Leo on the weekends all the time, and I'm like, what? This is great.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I always get you out there. You know that. I have to get you out there. I tell everybody, even when I'm on the phone to business and customers. And this lady in Canada I talked to the other day, she's with Miss Sandy Bird. She's with 1 Degree Organic Foods. And I said, she's asking me tech questions. And I said, 8888 Ask Leo on the week.
There you go. There you go.
Right? And I'm plugging you all over the place. Twit.tv. I said you can get the app.
Okay.
You know how I am. You know how I am.
You're embarrassing me, Chris. Now, come on. Now, just
never.
Ask your question now. Come on.
Okay, so real quick, because I need to get going. Okay, so I wanted to know. I have a Series 3 app. This is a really big deal for me because I know probably it's not a heavy-duty tech question, but for me it's a big deal. I'm going to be going up to the Series 4. I'm going to I'm looking at the stainless steel because I have the stainless steel Series.
You're talking about the Apple Watch, yeah. I decided because now that Apple upgrades these yearly, I'm not going to buy an expensive Apple Watch anymore because I'm going to be throwing it away or giving it away in a year. So I used to buy this, fancy ceramic ones and all that. No, I got the cheapest aluminum one I could find this time.
Well, we talk about that because you've talked about that, and I actually bring you into conversations.
I like the stainless steel; it's beautiful. But how much more is it?
It's about $800.
Yeah, so it's more than twice as much. And just what you have to ask yourself is, am I going to replace this when the next one comes out? And the next one I mean, for a while, Apple was stretching it out, but now it looks like yearly. I do like the Series 4. That's the one that allows you to do an ECG by just touching the stem. It is a bigger screen, and that's noticeable. It's a lot easier to read and use. I'm a fan. I wear the Apple Watch. I see people wearing Apple Watches all the time. So, yeah, and you obviously found a use for it, right? Your Series 3?
I wear my Series 3. I'm wearing it right now. I wear them all the time. It's like I cannot wear a conventional watch anymore because I'll be out in public and I'll start tapping on them. And the people are wondering what I'm doing because my mind is so psyched now to just tap, tap, tap on the Apple Watch now. Okay. I'm trained. Yeah. I know that sounds weird, but it's like, you know, I'm tapping my watch all the time. It's like, what are you doing? And it's like, well, because I don't have my Apple Watch with me. Something's going on with it. And so it's like, you know, I tap, but you can't.
Part of the theory of the Apple Watch was that you could surreptitiously look at, you know, just looking down at your watch, not looking at your phone, see what's going on, get notifications, stuff like that. But I think it's just as annoying to people when you're looking at your watch, maybe more so. They understand what you're doing when you're looking at your phone. The implication of looking at your watch is this going to be over soon? And I don't think that's the message you really want to send people. So I am a fan, but I use it as for health reasons. It's great for exercise. It is good for notifications. And, you know, more and more, I'm using it for listening to music. Podcasts now are on the watch. And I use there's a journal app I use called Day One that lets me actually record a journal entry on my watch. So, you know, I'm not the kind of guy who's going to sit down every night and write, "Dear Diary, today was crazy. Chris called me and he couldn't calm down." So instead I'm gonna put that in the watch. I know you're excited. I am too. You're going to put that in the watch, and that way I'm much more likely to journal and talk about stuff. If you're on diets, as I am often, as you know, there are diet programs that will let you count calories on there, record water usage, things like that. So I think there's a lot of use to this. The problem the watch has in general is it's not a great user interface. It's just too small. You tap, 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 and it's too small to do anything much with. So you really have to, the companies that make programs for it really have to think about what could you do on, you're not going to send text messages from your Apple Watch. I mean, people do. People do, but it's hard, you know.
Oh, did he?
Oh. So what's your question? Whether to get the Series 4?
Well, I wanted to know, you know, I'm going to get the Series 4, but, you know, I'm thinking a lot like the way you do now that, I mean,
don't get the expensive one. In my opinion, because I think you're going to want to upgrade.
Well, yeah, but I mean, are they going to be doing anything different later this fall?
Who knows? You know better than ask me that. I don't know. I haven't heard any rumors about the Apple Watch for this fall. I have not. However,
it wouldn't be such a bad deal.
And I could also tell you though, Apple now is calling out the watch more and more as being a big seller for them, and that's in contrary to most other fitness bands. You know, Samsung just announced its watch and fitness band, but its sales are a fraction of what Apple's doing with the Apple Watch. It is easily now the #1 fitness device. It's, believe it or not, they're the #1 watch. They outsell Rolex in not just volume, but in dollars. So, which is a big deal because a Rolex isn't cheap. So I think it's a big success, and that to me means Apple will be updating it, Chris. So keep that in mind when you buy that stainless steel. You sell enough coffee, you know, it's a nice treat for yourself. Stainless steel is beautiful. But this time around, instead of buying ceramic or stainless steel, I just got the inexpensive aluminum. And I'll tell you what, it looks as good, and it seems to be just as durable. So, you know, save $500, you'll be able to get the next one sooner. Chris, always a pleasure. Thanks for calling. Thanks for joining us in the chat room. Chris is a big part of the chat as well. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, the GizWiz, next. All right, GizWiz. Hello, Diggy D.
Leo, how you doing, pal?
I am well.
Good. Is that blinking thing behind you new?
Yes. You want me to tell you about that when you tell me about our gadgets?
Yeah, what is that?
It's a PDP-11, sort of. It's a small version of a computer that was huge in the 70s. It wasn't a personal computer, but it was the first kind of relatively affordable computer from Digital Equipment. A lot of people like Steve Gibson cut their teeth on it. And this is a small replica, very close to the original replica of it, based on a Raspberry Pi.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
I know. So let's see here. This will be the...
Why are we so attracted to lights?
Blinking lights. There's actually programs for these things called blinking lights.
Oh, I like it already.
Just blink the lights. You love blinking lights, don't you? I forgot.
Oh, my gosh.
All right, here we go. Hello, Dickie D.
Hey, Leo.
We like to play a little disco for Dick because he's a disco fool. He loves to dance. That's not a bad thing.
Yeah. No, it's not. It's great exercise.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
At least for your left arm. So, disco duck. Dick joins us each week. He is not only Mad Magazine's maddest writer and has been for decades. Sorry, my salad is blocking my view of you. There we go. Got to move that out of the way.
I was just nushing on that. Okay.
Get out of my salad. But he's also our gizmo wizard, or Gizwiz for short. Hi, Dickie D.
Leo, how you doing?
I am well. How are you?
I'm great because my favorite show of the year just closed, Toy Fair.
Oh. Is this in New York City?
Toy Fair is at the Javits. I mean, it's not CES, but it's 100.
But it's all toys.
Oh, it's blocks of toys. It's the entire Javits Center, and it's.
I think you have a toy
people.
in your lap. I just hear something going off. Okay, go ahead.
So there's 30,000 people. It's
that's pretty big. Yeah.
1,000 toy companies, and 2 floors and 3 blocks in each direction of new toys. And I found out about a new product, which turns out not to be new, but I'll tell you what it is. It's called Oobleck.
Oh, I know Oobleck.
Oh, you do? Leo, I was so impressed. And then when I got home and I tried to find, I'm looking. Well, we should explain what it is. It is a non-Newtonium substance that is a solid and a liquid, both at the same time.
Wasn't it a Dr. Seuss something?
Yes.
Yes. He named it, but this somebody decided, let's make it.
So, exactly. So you walk up to this booth, and this lady has a bowl of it, and she takes the bowl and moves the bowl back and forth, and you go, oh, okay, so it's like vanilla liquid. Yeah. And then she takes a fist and starts pounding it. And her hand is not wet. And she pounds it some more.
What the?
And then she stops and she puts a hand in it and brings it up and starts spilling it back in it. And I thought, this is just amazing. So I go online and I find, I think it was a college that made a long trough of it.
And you can walk on it.
Yes. If you walk fast, you can walk on it, and it will hold you up.
But if you walk slow, you sink into it.
That is exactly right.
Oh, that's hysterical.
And you can see, if you go to my website, the videos there, you can see it's a liquid, but they're walking on it.
What is it made out of?
You know what? It's mainly, I also put a recipe up there. It's mainly cornstarch.
Ah.
And so when the woman said the kit is $10 and it includes a black light, I'm thinking, wow, that's really cheap. But evidently, if you don't need
cornstarch
the black
not included.
If you don't need the black light, you can run around and make this yourself. Just look for Oobleck, OOBLECK.
And the place that this lady was from is actually a really great site, which I want to give a plug to.
Absolutely.
It's called Steve Spangler Science.
And they have a ton of fun stuff. Most of it inexpensive, and it's a fun place to go and find easy things to play with. Oobleck is not up there yet. I think they said it's going to be.
I just love this because I want to get kids. We need the younger generation to love science and technology and engineering and math because, frankly, somebody's got to make this stuff.
You know what? You just went on something. I'm thinking, Great Guys' car.
What?
Whoa! I need that too.
All it takes is a few rows of Mentos candies, some 2-liter bottles of Diet Coke, and the basic Geyser car frame will fill up many afternoons with great science discoveries, spewing soda across your lawn. Oh, that is fun. It's a Mentos and Coke powered car.
Yeah, it's great. And it's big enough wheels that it looks like it can run across grass, so you can do it outdoors.
I love this
I think, yeah, it's
basically.
Oh, you used the whole bottle.
Basically, it's a frame for a Diet Pepsi bottle, and you put the Mentos in, and then watch it go.
Yeah, and when you want to get your deposit back, you just send it back to the store.
Oh, Dick, you're always full of fun, and the Toy Fair is clearly your natural environment. Go to gizwiz.biz. That's Dick's website, gizwiz.biz, and click the link that says the Gizwiz Visit the Tech Guy for a link to this and all the other things he mentions on this show. But there are many other things to do at the site. Don't forget the Gizwiz Garb Edge, where you can get Gizwiz hats and other merchandise, and the Mad Collectibles page, and of course, we can't forget What the Heck Is It, his contest, which is about to conclude. 5 days left to identify this, the silly putty nose used in Sleeper. Oh, I'm sorry I said that. That's not what it is. But do figure out what it is, because if you can name it, you're in the running for an autographed copy of Mad Magazine. Actually, you don't even have to get it right. There's more Mad Magazines for a clever wrong answer than there are for the right answer.
Yeah, we reward stupidity here.
Gizwiz.biz. Dick's podcast, the Gizwiz, is gizwiz.tv, and he joins us every week. Have a great week, Dick. And I look forward to more toys from the Toy Fair next week, right?
You will get something,
awesome.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Last call of the day. Cotton in Surprise, California. Hello, Surprise Valley, California. Hello, Cotton.
Leo, how the heck are you?
I am great. How the heck are you?
Oh, boy, between Dickie D and Chris Caffeine.
The show got weird in the last half hour, didn't it?
That was really fun. I love Dickie D.
Yeah, me too.
Real quick, what I caught the last of that Iris thing. Are they dropping the Iris line?
Yeah, they are. And if you go to the Iris page, it'll explain how to get a refund. And so you use it too.
Well, I got a Iris Power Block, and I never used it because it was it wouldn't take my address, and you had to have an account. And
well, maybe now we know why they're discontinuing it. But Lowe's, I think, is doing the right thing. It was from Lowe's, and they're doing the right thing, refunding people's money and with a store credit and that kind of thing. So I think that I would pursue that. I'd go to the Iris website and find out, what you need to do, because there's a process that you go through.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have a little non-commercial radio company, and we've tried to build our own app a few times using DIY app solutions.
Yeah, isn't that fun?
What's that?
Isn't that fun?
I'm on my third provider.
Yeah.
I like the new one. I finally got them published last week.
Good. Congratulations. We spent $70,000, and the app was so bad, I'm not releasing it.
I've heard you say that, so I didn't have that kind of change. So I went with this is the third one, as I said, and I like it so far. But I'm swimming in Apple gear. Our whole company is Mac based, and I need a cheap device where I can look at the Android version of the app. So I just need sort of an app monitoring device. I bought a Chromebook, and turns out that
it has to be in the App Store for the Chromebook. That's the problem with that.
Yeah.
Not all apps are, right? Yeah.
I got a G6 Play, and that was so full of Amazon bloatware that I sent it back. So I thought, well, I'll just ask
The
Leo.
G6 is a good choice. Just don't get it from Amazon. Moto sells it direct without that adware. And that's only a couple of $100. So that's what I would do. I think it's a good solution. I'm out of time, though. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Have a great Geek Week. We'll see you next time. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, TWIT, T-W-I-T. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts for this show. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on Mac Break Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security on Security Now. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And, of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.